Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Minato makes Naruto next Hokage Council bashing. Before I start, please support for more amazing content, and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by Apex Predator 99 and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Which will it be, human? The imposing form of the death god asked the current Hokage, Minato Namikaze, as it floated behind him with one of its demonic cold arms through his stomach and connected to the defeated form of the Kyuubi, the nine-tailed demon fox currently held down by various golden chakra chains. Fuck. I really can't decide. Do I seal the yin half or the yang half into Naruto? This wasn't how any of this was meant to turn out. Minato sighed, observing the carnage around him. Behind him you could see that although the village suffered heavy casualties and losses, the shinobi finally got the civilians evacuated and have started putting out the literal fires and picking up pieces of rubble and debris. On his left, Kushina Uzumaki, his loving wife, was laying against a tree, heaving and bleeding heavily. Not just did she finish giving birth, not just did she have the Kyuubi ripped out of her, not just is she suffering from a panic attack and low on chakra, which already is near impossible due to being an Uzumaki, she is also currently holding down the Kyuubi with the last bits of her chakra manifested into her chakra chains. I guess you could say she is having a pretty shit time right now. Speaking of the Kyuubi, although its defeated form lay right in front of him, it was starting to stir again after the death god's hand grasped it, clearly realizing what was about to happen and not wanting to be sealed again. His hardened gaze softened when he laid his tired eyes on his newly born son on his left, with Geritora patiently waiting for Minato's decision. See, Gamabunta informed the Toads of Mt. Mayaboku what the situation was regarding their latest summoner after he returned to the summoning realm once the Kyuubi was restrained. Enough. As a result, Geritora was summoned in order to hold the key once Minato was done with the sealing. Although not a combat toad, he was currently watching Minato's son in order to prevent any further harm occurring to him. How effective the scroll toad could be at protecting Naruto. Now that is something Geritora and Minato wished would not be tested tonight. Speaking of Naruto, by some miracle or another, the newborn was able to sleep through the whole ordeal, but only after Minato was able to save his son from the masked man. That's another thing, just who was this masked attacker? His thoughts were disrupted by the Kyuubi in front of him breaking through some of Kushina's chains, and his was not able to last much longer. Shinigami-sama. The yin half, please. Seal the yin half into my son. Mainly because I hope that with time and the stronger he gets he will be a dash. Minato started only to have his face etched into a silent scream as the Shinigami started the sealing process. I do not care for your reasoning, human. The yang half will be sealed into you and the yin into your infant, although the beast seems to have a different idea, the death god grumbled. Minato looked ahead trying to understand what it meant and saw the Kyuubi's eyes set on his son. Realizing what this meant, Minato mustered his remaining strength and life force to rush in front of Naruto. Kushina seems to have had the same realization as the parental duo stood protectively over their son as the Kyuubi's gigantic claw was reaching them. Too late, Kyuubi. Kushina allowed herself some satisfaction even as she and Minato found themselves impaled, and knew this would be the end. The Kyuubi's claw was literal millimeters from reaching her son, and if it wasn't for the Shinigami finally finishing the sealing, she wasn't so sure 2 human piles of meat would have been enough to stop the claw from finishing the intended job. She briefly turned her head as much as she could to glance at her beautiful son for what would be the last time. Geritora just finishing dispelling as Minato gave him some final instructions and faintly heard him yell "Fuin." However, Kushina didn't care about her surroundings right now. Even as she could see the Kyuubi being split in 2 and sealed off, all she could do right now is think about her son and everything she would miss out on. Kushina knew Naruto's life was going to experience difficulties, but she had to put faith into Minato's idea, even though every fiber of her being disagreed and didn't trust the villagers one bit. Speaking from her own experience as a Jinchuriki. I love you my little baby / I love you my son, Kushina and Minato were able to wheeze out, and with one final silent prayer and breath, the lifeless forms of some of Konoha's bravest shinobi fell, with the threat of the Kyuubi taken care of and the Shinigami disappearing. A few seconds later, this was the scene Hiruzen Sarutobi walked into. He felt ashamed and embarrassed for allowing himself to be convinced by Minato to let him carry out his plan like this. He had argued and begged Minato to let him be the one to do the sealing and carry this burden, but Minato argued back that Hiruzen doesn't have the strength left in him to carry out the sealing, and as a Hokage and parent he cannot ask anyone else to sacrifice himself. With a heavy heart, Hiruzen had relented at the time but was questioning his decision right now on whether or not it was the right decision he made, or rather allowed to be made. Poor little Naruto. I am truly sorry for tonight. I am sorry I wasn't able to do more. Hiruzen started as a lone tear fell from his aged eyes. His statement was fairly true, although not doing more for Naruto. Following his promise to Minato to not get involved, Hiruzen took charge of organizing the village and trying to resettle some form of peace between the shinobi and civilians. Speaking of the village he will have to take charge of again, a different thought plagued his mind. I need to find a way to handle the council. This will most definitely be split between the civilian council looking to kill the poor boy and the shinobi council looking to adopt him for personal gain or guilt towards his parents. Hiruzen was deep in thought before his Umbu commander arrived before him, kneeling on one knee until the third Hokage gestured for him to speak. Hokage-sama, The situation isn't as dire as we thought thanks to your intervention and the Fourth's choices. Other than structural damage and the initial losses we suffered from the sudden appearance from the QB, we lost approximately 10% of our population, with most of them being civilians due to the shinobi living predominantly near to the edge of the village, and the attacker chose to summon the QB in the center thinking it will have more time to do damage. The dog-masked Ambu started. A dry chuckle escaped the lips of the third Hokage. Looks like you really knew what you were doing in the end. If it wasn't for you and your quick thinking, this could have been a lot worse, he thought solemnly. Thank you. I want all active shinobi to continue with reparations and calming civilians. Other than me and you, no one is to know yet that little Naruto is Minato's son or even anything to do with the sealing. Currently only us two know what has happened, and for now this will remain as so. I will keep him under my care for the time being, but even I know this won't be permanent. Knowing his orders were simple enough, Hiruzen did not even bother asking if Dog understood. With a flick of his hand, the Umbu commander left as silently and quickly as he came. Hiruzen gently picked up Naruto and shined away, ready for the oncoming headache that he is certain will follow soon. What was missed by both with all that was happening around them was the figure hidden in the trees masking their presence that disappeared after them. The interesting thing to note was that in appearance the figure was dressed in traditional Umbu uniform whilst also wearing a dog mask. However, the difference being that this mask had the symbol for root engraved on it. A few hours later, Hokage, Minato, I swear to Kami-sama, if it wasn't for the circumstances of your death, I would use Tobirama-sensei's jutsu to drag your ass back here myself to deal with these idiots. The now reinstated third Hokage thought tiredly. You see, whilst mentally Hiruzen Sarutobi was cursing the council in front him using every colorful word in his vocabulary, physically he's held an impassive face as the shinobi and civilian council have been non-stop screaming for actions and explanations. Now usually, no one would dare begin speaking until the Hokage themselves would address them. That's how it was all the way back to the time of the Shodaime, Hashirama Senju. For Hashirama, it was easy, everything was still fairly new and no one really knew what they needed or wanted in regards to the village. Following in his brother's footsteps, the Nidaime Hokage, Tobirama Senju also had it easy but for different reasons. Unlike the reign of the first Hokage, the second Hokage chose to be much stricter and almost strip the civilian council of their power, and mainly listen and take advice from the shinobi council. Whilst this had been mainly due to the wars and conflicts at the time, one cannot deny it caused Tobirama less headaches and allowed for maximum efficiency. During his own reign, the power began shifting. At the beginning of Sarutobi's leadership, the civilian council remained almost powerless until the era of peace started, well as peaceful as power-hungry shinobi would allow, so as a result he allowed some of the civilians more input and say into the council. What he did not realize was how quickly this would backfire. With his age increasing and him growing more lax, the civilian council began abusing their power more and becoming more sneaky, such as lowering the academy standard to allow more civilians to pass and thus increase their household name as shinobi, hence the appointment of Minato Namikaze as the fourth Hokage. Everyone knew Minato was a guarantee for Hokage, and between the two of them, Hiruzen and Minato knew it would be time for the third to retire and let someone younger take the reins and try to rectify the mistakes of the previous generation. It was beginning to work too, well up until a few hours ago. But we digress. The new generation is always meant to be greater than the previous one. I truly am sorry, Minato. Hiruzen sighed. Now how do we deal with this predicament? I could just shout and gain their attention, but I feel like that wouldn't make a statement. They need to understand their role again and the position and value I hold that comes with the title of the Hokage. Enough is enough. No one was paying attention to the aged Hokage, even the usually respectful Hyuga head, Hayashi. For someone whose clan pride themselves on etiquette and proper proceedings, he was currently defending his clan and himself from one of the civilian council members accusing his clan for not keeping better watch of the village and allowing a mountain high demon fox to appear in center, although they have their almighty seeing eye, and even throwing some remarks on how the Hyuga clan might actually be blind. Again, no one was paying attention except for one Shikaku Nara, who was not actively getting involved in any debates, mainly because everyone knows getting into any sort of argument with a Nara was useless because they'd either outsmart you with a well-thought-of argument, or they'd be too lazy to argue back. Instead of getting involved in anything, Shikaku was analyzing everything that was going on and, like any experienced Nara would do, coming up with plans and contingencies. He was observing the Inuzuka clan head, Sum, arguing with Mabuki Haruno over her excessively loud voice, the Hyuga argument, and one of the elders Danzo Shimura, who no one trusted anyways, blaming Fugaku Uchiha and his clan for the Kyuubi attack due to Sharingan pattern that was seen in the demon's eyes. But what really attracted his attention was the Hokage, who seemed to be going through some internal dialogue initially, had gained an ice-cold look into his eyes and began lowering his right hand, which had been resting against his face, onto his desk slowly. Shikaku, having seen this, braced himself for what he deduced was going to happen, and he was proven right, as not even a second later the room was flooded with an aura so strong that even the unexpected shinobi council members were forced to almost bow down their heads and calm their nerves, but dared not to even look into the eyes of the third Hokages, from the pure power that radiated from him. The civilian council were not that lucky, as all of them had passed out. Hiruzen, seeing that Shikaku was faring better than his counterparts, allowed for a small unnoticeable smirk to grace his wrinkled face. Of course you'd expect something like this and prepare a plan, he thought before choosing to address the council. Enough. That was all that was needed to silence the room completely and for the Sandame to remove his aura from the room and allowing the shinobi to breathe a little easier again and actually look up, whilst the ANBU began waking up the civilian council. Now you will speak when spoken to or if I indicate for you to speak, am I clear? The third Hokage firmly stated, and to reiterate his point, let some of his chakra flare again. One person from the civilian council will speak and sum up what your concerns are. Hokage Mabuki Haruno started before a sharp glare from the Hokage reminded her to lose the magnitude of her shrill voice. Ahem, Hokage-sama, following this attack, we have suffered greatly. Many of our businesses and shops were destroyed either directly from the Kyuubi or from the resulting struggle. We demand. So her speech was cut short, as she suddenly found the sharp end of a tanto blade pointed at her throat. No one saw any movement until the blade was at the neck. This included the shinobi clan heads. The dog-masked ANBU commander made his presence known by speaking from behind Mabuki. You don't demand from the Hokage, you ask politely and respectfully. Everything else will be deemed as treason, am I clear? Afraid of even nodding too heavily, Mabuki gave a very small head nod. Now dog, I am sure everyone now understands the position they are in, so you can allow her to breathe a little easier. However, should something like this happen again, I give you permission to spill some blood. And just how he appeared. Dog vanished again, but everyone knew he was still around as part of the Hokage's protection team. The other thing everyone started realizing was that this isn't the same Hiruzen Sarutobi they exploited at the time of his tenure. So this is the situation, we lost approximately 10% of our population following this attack. Yes, most of the initial losses were from the civilian side, with some of the shinobi losses stemming from the first contact with the Kyuubi before Minato managed to transport it outside of the village, continuing on before he could get interrupted. Whilst I understand that everyone is currently not in the best spot, however that does not give the right for all of you to try and be at each other's throat. Now first and foremost, there will be a funeral service for everyone who lost their lives, including our beloved Yandame. Everyone's head lowered at this reminder. Whether you were civilian or shinobi, the Yandame Hokage was a breath of fresh air and everyone held some love for him. His passing hit a nerve in everyone's heart. Second, there will be changes again, or rather reformation of the past rules regarding the council. The civilian council will only have a say in terms of civilian matters, and even then I will have final ruling. No decision will be passed without my say-so. To add to this, from now on when discussing shinobi matters, the civilian council will be dismissed. Now, you can't do this. Have you gone in? So one of the civilian council members started, just to have his vision do a full of 180 with everything turning upside down. The reason being for this, dog appearing and removing the head of the council members before disappearing as quickly. Screams followed from the civilian council before they were quickly silenced by the third Hokage directly leaking some Ki this time to stop them quickly. Quiet. Now as I was saying, all shinobi will be ordered to help with the reparations. Of course the civilians will be helping too. As for the heads of different civilian sections, you will be in charge of summing up the damages and what is needed. Now before I dismiss you, the unanswered question you had regarding the Kyuubi. We do not know how it appeared, however. What we do know is that the Yandame killed the beast before losing his life too. Now be gone. The tone he used left no room for any debate or argument, and the earlier statement carried out by Dog left no opening for the civilian council to try and exploit. Once the civilians left and the Sandame ordered for an ANBU to dispose of the civilian council member's body, he turned to address the shinobi council, his 3 advisors still being present beside him. Now for those of you who have any deep understanding of chakra and the tailed beasts, you will know that chakra can't be destroyed, and since the Kyuubi is a massive entity of chakra, it clearly can't be destroyed either. Everyone was nodding their head because unlike the civilian council, they already figured out as much. Continuing on, what you don't know is that Minato sealed the Kyuubi into Naruto, his and Kushina's newborn son. I am not going to insult your intelligence by keeping this a secret from you. You would all figure this out one way or another. However, I am making this very clear right now. The information of Naruto being a Jinchuriki and the son of Minato and Kushina will be the current highest level secret in the village. If any of this information comes out, not just will be the person responsible be executed but also anyone you and they will have told. Am I clear? Finishing of his statement, the Hokage released most of his Ki, which not just made his point by cracking walls and tables whilst making the shinobi council feel nauseous and on the verge of collapse. After a couple of seconds, he chose to release his Ki, which then allowed for Shikaku to speak up, who would be the shinobi equivalent of Mabuki, in the sense that he tends to speak for the collective council, not equivalent in their levels of voice magnitude. Hokage-sama, what is the plan for little Naruto then? I am guessing none of us will be allowed to adopt him or take care of him, due to the imbalance this would cause among the clans by having such a powerful ally in their ranks. Now this isn't me calling Naruto a weapon or anything of the like, but I would be lying if I said this thought won't have crossed the mind of some, Shikaku stated analytically. However, the slightly narrowed eyes of Fugaku and Danzo did not go unnoticed by Hiruzen or Shikaku. That was a very accurate analysis, but of course I wouldn't expect anything less from you. You are right though, Naruto will be entered into the orphanage under the Uzumaki surname until he is old enough to take care of himself and enroll the academy. Now that this topic has been answered, I do want to discuss the academy. I want each of you to make suggestions for the improvement of the academy. Like I said earlier, we have been too lax and things need to and will change. However, it's been a long day and I need to wind down too and set up Naruto. So go home, be with your clan, look after your families. I expect the reports in a week. Danzo, stay behind. Now, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I know about you and Root and the fact you haven't disbanded them. I am going to make this very clear though, if anything happens to Naruto, and I mean anything, a piece of his hair can be out of place. I promise on Kami-sama, Shinigami-sama and any other deity that might exist that I will personally rain hellfire on you and your organization until every last one of them, including you, is terminated. Am I clear? Danzo at this point, although outwardly impassive and stoic, inwardly was going through a range of emotions. On one hand he was quite impressed with how Hiruzen had ran everything and even addressed him, the last time he saw this side of his old teammate. He was still being called the Professor and God of Shinobi. On the other hand, he was seething, because this reformed Hiruzen had also essentially disrupted his plans for the perfect weapon. Choosing to play it safe for now though and not willing to risk facing the wrath of the third Hokage, he played alone. Of course Hokage-sama, he forced out the honorific. I wouldn't dream of it. If that is all, I will dismiss myself. With a flick of his wrist Hiruzen dismissed Danzo. Once he was certain Danzo was gone, and he was alone in the meeting room, he called out for Dog again. Keep an eye on him as well as the other council members. I want to make sure no one is trying anything funny, he stated before dismissing the commander, and then getting up himself to finally go home and spend the remaining night with Naruto, as the next day was going to be hectic following the repercussions of the Kyuubi they faced a few hours ago. 6 years later. It's been 6 long and very interesting years for the village hidden in the leaves. Following the night of the Kyuubi attack, Hiruzen proved to be a man of his word and began reforming the village. This started with the civilian side of the village. Although the balance of the village population still favored the civilians, when it came to decisions regarding the village as a whole, the power balance became a lot more even between the two different factions. Reasons for this being, although civilians wouldn't be to match up to a genin, that did not mean they weren't essential for the village and needed for the economy. This is why the third Hokage, although having the final say for decisions, still approved the reasonable decisions whilst burning the non-so-reasonable ones. This included the village helping pay for some of the refurbishment and rebuilding of the lost properties, raising the tax the village would get from everyone. Initially the civilian council only wanted to charge shinobi. However, after one meeting, one disrespectful comment from one council member, and one more head rolling, everyone seems to have quickly found middle ground. So now, depending on the mission rank, will depend on the tax. Whereas S-rank missions would incur a slightly higher tax than a D-rank mission, and businesses would have to pay a tax depending on their income. From a shinobi side, Konoha has become a lot more varied and provided a plethora of options for everyone. For example, Hiruzen built another hospital in the village which helped reduce the mortality rate in his village. Within each hospital there now was a medic ninja course. Instead of teaching lethal jutsu etc., this program taught those who are interested how to use their chakra with precision control for the medical arts. This definitely favored some of the civilians as they didn't have large enough chakra to effectively be a ninja, but instead allowed them to form their smaller reserves with finer control and still be involved. However, the biggest change was the academy. Pretty much everything changed. Of course it took a few years to correctly be able to implement everything and allow the changes to start taking effect. However, it was done. Firstly, a second smaller academy was formed for the civilians who, instead of becoming ninja, wanted to become future business people. This academy focused on things like business strategies, economy and finance. They still received the basics of ninja training, such as learning the previous 3 base jutsu and how to mold chakra in case they wanted to specialize as a support ninja down the line. Now for the main academy, the first thing was the entry age. Hiruzen made it a law that you have to be at least 8 years old before entering the academy, and it would be a 4-year program before you could graduate. This was implemented following the success of shinobi like Kakashi, or more recently Itachi a few years ago. The third Hokage felt that kids should be allowed to be kids, and although he stopped being lax, he wasn't willing to send children out to die needlessly, especially in times of peace. That didn't stop some of the better shinobi to skip a year or two due to previous clan knowledge and training, but even then, the earliest someone was able to graduate has been 10. Now the curriculum changed too. The first year involved a crash course of what is essentially taught in the civilian council. This was something the civilian and shinobi council actually found common grounds on, and the reason being, if a member of a clan is present, they would need to understand some of the politics involved and how to effectively run a clan or business. At the same time, they were taught the basics of chakra and how to mold it, as well as the 3 basic techniques. The second year is when they were taught chakra control exercises like leaf balancing, shuriken jutsu, Konoha history including its clans and their significance, as well as basic survival skills. The first 2 years were essentially what most clan heirs were able to skip due to having already been taught all of these things by their respective clans. However, it did serve to bring the smaller clans as well as civilians up to speed and on a good starting foundation for the next 2 years. In year 3 is where the pace picked up and really differentiated the potential of the genin prospects, and where most of the civilian members decided this wasn't for them, before switching academies. The third year involved a lot of conditioning both mentally and physically. physically due to the step up in taijutsu training and things like boot camp, which were essentially mini courses of intense activities designed to make students only use their physical prowess, no chakra allowed. This was incorporated into their spars as well as any taijutsu lessons. However, mentally is what really scarred a few students and took time for things to get back to relative normality. To help students prepare for the scary world of shinobi, every single student had a one-on-one meeting with the head of interrogation, Ibiki Marino, and got to see just some of the gruesome reality that involved the shinobi world. Now the level of interrogation varied and was random. Some students only saw a finger or two being removed, some saw some of the captors being skinned or had portions of their skin boiled, and finally some saw the final part of the interrogation where, once deemed useless, the captive was killed. The fourth year was split into two. The first half of the year was the teaching of the harder principles of shinobi lifestyle. This would include things like genjutsu and fuinjutsu whilst also identifying the elemental natures of the students. Now it should be said that all of these lessons are brief. The genjutsu lessons are more theory than anything else and how to cast one and break out of one. The fuinjutsu lessons cover only the basics, so scroll ceiling, explosive tags and basic sensory barriers, whilst the elemental lessons are just identifying the chakra natures using chakra paper and how to properly control their elements, but that is something their jonin sensei would teach them. The second half of the year was all in preparation for the final exams. Regular spars and competitions would be carried out to refine their skills and abilities. Students would be taken to weekly camping and survival trips to further hone their memories. This was the part of the academy all students waited for, ultimate bragging rights and on the verge of promotion. No more boring lessons in theory and books, but rather constant application and action. However, with everything good that was happening in the village, there had to be something bad matching it and lurking in the shadows. The old visage of the third Hokage grimaced as he thought back on the situation currently brewing in the village. Although only being in the village briefly, no one who was alive at that time will ever forget the Kyuubi attack. Everything from how the air thickened with malicious killing intent to the imposing figure of massive nine-tailed fox to the damage and losses that were suffered, nothing will ever be forgotten. Unfortunately, this did include the Sharingan pattern in the murderous eyes of the monstrous beast. Following the meeting 6 years ago, rumors began flying around the village accusing the Uchiha clan of controlling the Kyuubi. People were calling it Madara's revenge as a way to punish the villagers of Konoha for betraying one of the co-founders of the village. Although Hiruzen and many of the veteran shinobi knew this wasn't the case, it didn't stop the village from ostracizing the Uchiha clan as a whole. Some teams even disbanding and missions specifically requesting for non-Uchiha shinobi. Fugaku Uchiha, the clan head, asked the Hokage. He would have begged or pleaded, but his pride as an Uchiha did not allow that. To help and explain the whole situation to the village, however, the third Hokage vehemently disagreed and denied that request and reasoned that this would not make a difference, and would instead only paint a target on Naruto's back. Feeling outraged and even betrayed that once again the Uchiha clan was being betrayed by a Hokage and its village, the clan secluded themselves from the village and only kept within themselves. Had they just secluded themselves, Hiruzen wouldn't worry. After all, a lot of clans in Konoha kept to themselves and wouldn't interact with the general population, much like the Hyuga clan or Abdurrahim clan. However, whispers of a coup were ushered, and a matter like this isn't to be ignored. How the third Hokage came to this news? Well, that's answered by the two Anbu teens in front of him. With a flick of his left wrist followed by a hand sign with his right hand, the Sandaime Hokage chose to address the situation at hand. Raven and Bird, you can take your masks off now. It's only us three. I've dismissed everyone else and set up a privacy barrier. I want to know the full details of your latest report and this coup, the third Hokage stated. Raven and Bird stood at attention and removed their masks to show the young faces of Itachi and Shursui Uchiha. Although young in appearance, they were currently among his beat shinobi, two rare anomalies who decimated through the shinobi ranks and are among the most respected ANBU officers in the village. For Shursui, although talented at a young age, he completed the academy at a normal pace, like other clan members basically. However, he truly peaked once graduated, and within the ninja world not even 2 years later he became a jonin before being asked to join the ANBU department at the age of 12, and had been there for the last year. He specialized in assassinations thanks to his speed, both natural and via Shunshin, and his genjutsu mastery, especially with his Sharingan. That combination led him to be known as Shunshin no Shursui. Now for Itachi, it was slightly different. Being the son of a clan head was never going to be easy. Being the son of Fugaku Uchiha was going to be even more difficult, but being the son of Fugaku Uchiha whilst the village was in the process of turning on the Uchiha? That was a hellish experience. Itachi was always considered a genius, and where most people would simply rely on their genius, he never had that luxury because in his hellish experience, Fugaku made sure Itachi also trained hard and learnt everything. From the moment he could form a coherent sentence, Itachi had been taught about shinobi and civilian matters alike. From the minute he could walk, his father began pressuring him to run and so on. This as a result led to Itachi graduating the academy at the age of 9, before the official changes settled into the academy, become a jonin in the same year and was invited into the ANBU by the age of 10, where for the last 2 years he had been making a name for himself as the current youngest ANBU captain in history, and officially Shursui's captain. As impressive as Itachi was, there was only one reason why he hadn't gone insane, and that was his younger brother Sasuke. When Itachi began his training under his father, when the Third Shinobi War was still freshly underway, before this story started basically. He had thought many times of quitting. That was until his younger brother was born, still before Kyuubi attack in this story, and Itachi swore he would protect him at all cost, no matter what, and hence enduring everything he went through. Everything was worth it, and fine for Itachi up until recent developments, and the reason they were reporting to the Sandaime, Hokage-sama. As previously stated, there were rumors about a possible coup. However, we can now confirm that those rumors are indeed true. Itachi started, and with a deep sigh the Sandaime motioned for him to continue. The reason for them being so secluded and shut off from the village is because the clan leaders are in the process of preparing the shinobi and civilians alike for the takeover. Although they might be outnumbered, I'm sure I don't need to explain to you the strength of the clan, but more importantly the implications this would have for the village. What's even more worrying is what Shursui found out. Taking the opportunity to speak, Shursui started with, "It isn't confirmed what it will be," but the clan leaders and elders were discussing a weapon of sorts. Something apparently able to level the playing field between the clan and the village. Now this is something that caused the old eyes of the third Hokage to widen. However, before he could say something, Shursui continued, "Sorry Hokage-sama, but that's not all. It seems they are planning on acting on their plan in approximately 2 years. Finally finished, Shursui rejoined Itachi's side and awaited the decision from their leader. Although both Uchiha members loved their clan and its members, they were pretty much the only ones who were against such an idea. Some OD their best friends were from this village, members of their squads had battled and even died on missions. Both boys awakened their manjikyu over a mission that went to shit, and both appreciated everything the village has done for them. For what seemed like hours, but was only a few seconds, everything was dead silent as Hiruzen Sarutobi's mind worked in overdrive on how to deal with the situation. Okay, here is what we will do. From what you both said, I have approximately 2 years to try and de-escalate the situation with the Uchiha clan. Otherwise there will be a bloodbath. That is going to be the role I play in this. I promise you both that I will do what I can to prevent this from escalating. In the meantime, I'm going to need you both to continue doing what you have been and gather more information, especially about this weapon they're talking about. If that is all clear and you two have no further comments or questions, you're dismissed. Thank you again." The boys shared a look before Shursui nodded his head and disappeared in his signature shunshin, leaving behind a brief afterimage. Whereas Itachi stayed behind and chose to address the Sandaime, "Hokage-sama, whilst I appreciate you trying to mend things with the Uchiha, I need you to understand that they all suffer from the cycle of hate that we are cursed with based on our stone tablets. No matter what you do, it might not be enough. If that is the case, we might have to consider drastic measures." Understanding the hidden meaning of what Itachi was saying, and not wanting to pry about the clan secrets and the stone tablets, Hiruzen gestured for Itachi to continue. "That being said, if things go south, all I ask is that my little brother Sasuke is protected no matter the cost. I don't mind giving my life for the village, and whilst most, if not all, of the clan might succumb to the hate, Sasuke is still pure. I have made sure of that since he's been born," Itachi explained with utmost determination and passion for his little brother. "Of course Itachi, you have my word," the third Hokage gently reassured the young Uchiha, and with a nod of his head Itachi disappeared in a normal leaf shunshin. Looking out into the village, Hiruzen had a very bad feeling in his gut. 1 week later, "Thank you Ba-chan!" The small figure of Naruto Uzumaki cheerfully screamed as he was leaving the little grocery store near the orphanage into the darkness of the night. Naruto's life can be summed up in pretty much one word: uneventful. He was an orphan, part of the village's orphanage, and other than being hyperactive and energetic, he was like any other orphan, at least for the most part. Every week, the third Hokage would take a little walk with Naruto around the village and just chat and be supportive of anything going on in his life. He also would give Naruto an allowance for the week. Why the Sandaime Hokage of a whole village would take the time out to spend it with Naruto, even once a week, was confusing to Naruto. He was an orphan like the others, so why was he the special one? He wasn't going to complain though, as he loved their weekly meetings and the allowance. Usually, he would buy some groceries and snacks whilst also saving enough for Ichiraku's, hence his current trip to the grocery store. Another reason for his cheerful mood is due to his birthday, which was a week ago. On top of the allowance, the third Hokage gave Naruto some basic books and scrolls to prepare him for the academy. Although not telling Naruto, Hiruzen was wanting to make sure that Naruto was prepared for the academy without showing too much favoritism. Otherwise a lot of questions would begin to be asked on the significance of Naruto and why the Hokage focused on him so much. Instead, he went on these weekly walks to socialize with the village and spend time with Naruto, whilst the books and scrolls were some copies from his personal libraries, slightly rewritten to adjust to Naruto's age. It was those scrolls and books as to why Naruto nearly forgot to buy groceries, because he's been so engrossed in reading all day, that only once the natural daylight disappeared did he realize he was reading all day. Going through the shopping bag and trying to find some of the snacks, he did not realize he was walking straight into a pair of people, causing him to promptly fall backwards and onto the pavement. I'm really sorry. I wasn't looking where I was going. Are you Oka dash? Naruto started, only for his words to be caught in his throat at the two scary-looking people in front of him. Whilst they did not look too special, it was their eyes that caused him to freeze in place, for staring right back at him were two pairs of bright red fully matured Sharingan eyes. Of course, I had to bump into Uchiha's. These guys hate everyone anyways, and that's without giving them a reason to be pissed at you. Hopefully they will just they're not in too bad of a mood, Naruto thought worriedly. He was thanking the third Hokage for the books and scrolls for being able to identify the clan members, and from the rumors he heard about this clan, they were not very positive. His thoughts were interrupted by the conversation the two began having. You're sure this is the one, Kawaguchi? He is supposed to become our weapon? He doesn't look like anything special, and he is just a kid for crying out loud, the first Uchiha said, clearly annoyed by the task given to them. You're as stupid as ever, Sando. Firstly, yes, this is the one. He matches the description exactly how Fugaku-sama described him, and more importantly, use your eyes, you dimwit. Look carefully, Kawaguchi said, clearly annoyed with his partner. Looking closely, Sando realized what his partner meant and saw the two very different chakra colors inside Naruto's body. Holy shit. You're right. He really does have the Q. He was stopped from continuing by a hand slapping the back of his head. What the hell, Kawaguchi? You really are stupid. Fugaku-sama told us not to bring this up. Remember the consequences if anyone overhears us. This could be the end of us. Anyways, we have to find the kid again. He clearly heard us and ran. If he escapes, I will blame you. Let's go, Kawaguchi explained to his partner in an exasperated manner before beginning to run after the small form of Naruto running down the road. With Naruto, I need to make it back quick. I don't know what they were talking about, but I am not about to become a weapon for anyone. Also, I need to ask the old man about this. Surely he will know what is going on, Naruto thought before turning and running into a dimly lit alley to try and catch his breath from all the running and hopefully lose his pursuers. Looking into the alley, it was mostly empty except for a tall lamppost and a large garbage bin. Choosing to hide in the shadows behind the bin, Naruto tried to control his breathing and was praying to everything holy that the two ninjas would have missed him. His luck did not seem to be enough, as he felt someone kick the bin he was hiding behind, causing it to connect with his face and his nose to break as he once again fell down, this time clutching his face. Looking up with teary eyes, the same scene replayed in his mind of the two Sharingan ninjas looking at him with smirking looks. Trying to stand back up, Sando swept Naruto's feet once again, making him fall down on his back. This time, instead of trying to get up, Naruto slowly began backing up towards the wall into the shadow of the bin. What do you say we rough him up a little, Kawaguchi? After all, he is the reason for all this hate and mistreatment towards us, Sando said deviously whilst kicking Naruto in the knee and causing it to be dislocated, eliciting a small scream of pain before Sando covered Naruto's mouth with a cloth he had on him. Sure, I don't care. As long as he is still functioning, anything goes wrong. I am blaming you though, Kawaguchi replied nonchalantly whilst going towards the opening of the alley to have a smoke and keep an eye out for anyone suspicious. They had to wait for the darkness of the night before trying to capture the kid after all. Naruto meanwhile was just cowering in the corner, and taking the occasional hit Sando would give him whilst toying with Naruto and telling him to try and get up. Naruto however wasn't thinking of getting up, already knowing it would only get worse. Instead he was resigning himself to his fate, knowing he was completely outmatched and simply laying there in the shadows of the alley. Let yourself go, a deep and menacing voice resounded in his head. Thinking he was going insane from the beating, he chose to ignore the voice and tried to hang on to his sanity. Let yourself go, you weak and pathetic mongrel. The shadows. Let your body succumb to the shadows, he heard the voice booming into his head again. And how the hell do I do that? I can't just become a shadow. Naruto decided to entertain his insanity, thinking he had nothing to lose. Sando at this point was taking a break of beating Naruto and had joined Kawaguchi in smoking whilst Naruto's body lay in the shadows, beaten, bloodied and bruised. No, you can't, not yet anyways. If we want to survive, you will do as I tell you. The next time one of them approaches you, I am going to blast you with a painful and burning sensation. All you have to do is not fight and we will survive, the voice explained, not bothering with details due to the state Naruto was in. Thinking he had nothing else to lose, Naruto only nodded and began slowly getting up with a few grunts and huffs. All this cause though was for the attention of Sando to be drawn to him again and stop his smoking to approach Naruto for another beating. Ah, there we go! Much better. This is always more fun when they try to resist, Sando exclaimed with a maniacal grin on his face. However, before he could take another step, a feeling which no one felt for the last 6 years washed over the village. What no one except the two Uchiha knew though, was that this feeling originated from the small boy they were tasked on capturing. Frozen in fear, Sando was worried the QB was going to appear. However, as quickly as the feeling came, it vanished completely, but with it, the form of Naruto Uzumaki. What the fuck? He was right here in front of me! Sando screamed, gaining the attention of Kawaguchi, who rushed to his side, previously also frozen in fear of the feeling he felt. How did you lose him? And what the hell was this feeling? Quickly check underneath the bin in case he took that moment to hide. He didn't manage to sneak past me, out the alley, that's for sure. Kawaguchi yelled at Sando. Not wanting to piss his partner off anymore, Sando chose to listen and stepped forward to try and search underneath and around the bin. This proved to be the last thing he would do though, as with the step he took, Naruto appeared from behind him, a clawed hand through his chest where his heart would be, seemingly materializing from Sando's own shadow. As quickly as he appeared, Naruto disappeared again. Sando! Kawaguchi screamed and moved away from Sando's body in case Naruto appeared again. Choosing to run away and inform his leaders of the situation, Kawaguchi ran out the alley and back towards the clan compound. Running as fast as he could through the empty streets of Konoha, he didn't dare look back, choosing to rest against one of the walls close to the Uchiha clan compound. Fugaku was trying to control his breathing and make sense of what he saw in order to regain his composure to be able to address the elders and Fugaku clearly and properly. After all, appearances and the way you carried yourself were essential to the Uchiha clan. How does this make sense? 1 second the brat was there, then he disappeared, and then he appeared between me and Sando, right behind Sando without anyone sensing or noticing him. Kawaguchi thought, clearly confused and scared for his life. Looking up, he saw the Uchiha clan compound walls and the clouds no longer obscuring the half-moon bright above, casting wide and long shadows across the village. This momentary pause was the last mistake Kawaguchi would do, as from the shadows connecting his own and the compound walls as Naruto once again appeared, this time right in front of Kawaguchi, and ran his long nails through the neck of his previous assailant, causing him to gurgle blood and fall to the ground lifelessly. Looking towards the clan compound, Naruto's eyes narrowed. I should continue, whilst I still can, and exterminate this who. His thoughts were interrupted as Shursui materialized behind him and knocked the boy unconscious with a quick chop to the back of the head, causing for his hands to reform to their normal state. Picking him up, Shursui burnt the body of the Uchiha member, and shunshined towards the Hokage tower to explain the developments, and hopefully gain some answers. Stupid human body, if only I had a more experienced host, he wouldn't have been able to sneak up on me. The booming and dark voice pondered in the back of Naruto's mind. This was the perfect opportunity too, as the boy willingly gave me control. Damn it! There won't be many more chances like this. No matter, I will be free. Sooner or later, the voice continued to plan and ponder up until it felt the chakra signature of the village leader, and knew they had arrived, and thus forcing his jailer to wake up again. Where am I? The groggy voice of Naruto spoke out, looking up at an unfamiliar ceiling and feeling the soft couch underneath him. Yuff, my body is also still sore. Why? I remember going home from the grocery shop and then bumping into the TW. He abruptly stopped his thoughts as he realized where he might be. Jumping up, whilst ignoring the pain going through his body, Naruto landed on his feet, ready to defend himself from what he assumed was somewhere in the Uchiha compound. Naruto-kun, relax. You're safe right now, you're with us. The soft and gentle voice of Hiruzen Sarutobi spoke from behind Naruto, leaning against his desk. Although it was a very grave situation on what had just occurred, he can't help but be slightly assumed by Naruto's ninja stance, as he's seen the boy perform before. During one of their walks, Hiruzen explained to Naruto he would enroll him into the academy to become a ninja, which led to Naruto instantly jumping in front of him, with this his right leg straight and left leg bent at the knee with both arms raised high above him. This was the stance Naruto was currently holding before relaxing himself a little and turning around to see the third Hokage looking at him with a gentle smile. What happened, Gigi? I was in the alley. There were 2 Uchihas. Where are they? Is there anything broken? I am very sore? And what do you mean by us? Naruto asked the Hokage very quickly and without taking a breath. Using the moment where Naruto was regaining his breath, the third Hokage chose to step in and explain everything to him. Naruto, listen carefully and focus. I don't quite know what was going on in the alley or about the second Uchiha. However, you were found outside the Uchiha compound after fighting one of the Uchiha members. He was taken care of and you were brought in by one of our shinobi. He's the us I was talking about and standing behind you. In terms of your body, you had a bruised bones and a black eye. However, I did my best patching you up. We will make sure to get you checked up after this, the third Hokage said seriously, but chose to amend some of the facts of the night, not wanting to scar the young boy. Looking behind him once the Hokage finished speaking, he saw a tall human staring down on him with a bird mask on his face. However, what he did not expect was for the red eyes of the Sharingan to be staring right at him, causing to scream out and grasp his head as the booming voice from earlier made its presence known again. Remember what you did. This was all you, as an influx of memories from a few hours ago bombarded Naruto. To say Hiruzen was confused would be an understatement. 1 second Naruto was looking at Shursui, and the next second he was on knees holding his head and screaming out in pain whilst begging something to stop. Rushing to his side, Sarutobi tried to comfort Naruto and ran a quick diagnostic to see if anything was amiss. Replaying the events that happened, he figured it had to do with Shursui, or more importantly his Sharingan based on the events of the night. Ordering Shursui to deactivate his eyes, the Sandaime paid attention again to the little boy in his arms who had now stopped screaming but was shaking uncontrollably and crying. Naruto, speak to me, what is going on? I am here for you. Bird is one of my most loyal and best ANBU, he is to be trusted. You're safe, Hiruzen tried to reassure Naruto. I remember it all. I am a monster. I killed them, this was my fault. Maybe I am just a weapon like those Uchihas said. Naruto wept uncontrollably after emptying his stomach's contents upon the initial realization. The third Hokage realized that his initial amending of the truth was irrelevant now if Naruto knew what happened. Instead, he waited for Naruto to finish crying and calm himself down a little bit, where he was only hiccuping a little and sniffling. Naruto, listen to me carefully, this will be the most important piece of information I will ever tell you. You are not a monster, it was those 2 Uchihas which were the monsters. You defended yourself, that is all. Please, once you're ready, Talk me through what happened and we will go from there, okay my boy? The third Hokage softly said whilst giving Naruto a big hug. Shisui in the meantime chose to stay out of Naruto's eye view to prevent any sort of backlash of memories again. He waited as long as needed and once Naruto calmed down enough to speak, he began explaining what had happened and what he did. I see, so it's making its presence known, the third Hokage thought grimly. Whilst he had utmost faith in Minato's sealing ability, he knew that sooner or later the Kyuubi would make some sort of move, he just didn't expect it to be so soon. From what he knew about previous Jinchuriki, he had to play this very delicately in order to protect Naruto. Naruto, my boy, please listen to me. Again, you are not a monster. From what you have said, you were not in control but rather something else was. What I am about to tell you, only a handful of people should know about. You need to make sure this piece of information isn't shared with anyone, do you understand? The third Hokage sternly and slowly said to make sure Naruto understood every word he said. Once Naruto had calmed down enough and was listening intently, understanding how serious the situation, he nodded meekly gesturing for the Hokage to continue. Roughly 6 years ago, on the night you were born, a massive chakra beast known as the Kyuubi attacked the village. The fourth Hokage, Minato, fought the beast and defeated it. Now, what I told the village is that Minato killed the beast at the cost of his life. However, the truth, that only the clan heads, the elders and a few ANBU know is that Minato had to seal the Kyuubi into a human vessel, which happens to be you. Unfortunately, it had to be newborn baby due to their undeveloped chakra coils, which is why you were picked Naruto. Your parents had died in the accident right after your birth so this way he didn't have to place this burden on anyone else. I am so sorry for keeping this from you Naruto. I was trying to Hiruzen was interrupted by a blonde blur hugging him as tight as his 6-year-old physique allowed him and thanking him for everything he had done. Although being only 6, Naruto was more mature than most kids his age or even older, mainly due to the walks and talks he had with the third Hokage as well as his own natural curiosity. It was for that reason he was able to understand the situation without holding any contempt for the third Hokage. He knew it was for his own protection anyways. Thank you Naruto's meek voice was heard from the robes of the Sandaime with tears falling freely from his face. This simple action also caused a few tears to form in the aged eyes of Hiruzen, being thankful for this reaction, as he was worried for how Naruto would react should he find out. So, Naruto started quietly once he separated from the Sandaime. The voice I heard tonight, that was the Kyuubi? And after the whole shadowy thing, that was all it? Until I woke up again anyways? Naruto asked, trying to make sure he understood this situation as clearly as possible. Yes Naruto-kun, that is exactly it. I don't quite know about this shadow experience you had though. It sounds similar to the Nara family. However, I can say with absolute certainty you are not a Nara. In terms of the Uchiha, there are some behind-the-scene problems going on within the village that I will start taking care of. For now there are only 2 Uchihas you don't need to be scared of, which are Raven and Bird, the A and B you met earlier. It would be best that, other than them two, you try to stay clear from the compound and any other Uchiha you might come across. The weapon they were talking about is the Kyuubi sealed inside you, and under no circumstances can we let that happen, you understand why, right? Hiruzen asked carefully and slowly. To which Naruto once again nodded, understanding the severity of the situation. Hokage-sama, if I may? The voice of Shisui began, wanting to make sure he announces himself this time so Naruto doesn't get startled. Once the Hokage motioned for him to continue, Shisui began slowly taking his mask off whilst continuing with, from what we understood, the Uchiha might try to go for Naruto again. We can't afford to leave him in the orphanage or on his own, we should consider beginning to teach him the shinobi arts. Also, Naruto-kun, I am very sorry for what has happened to you. I want you to remember my mask and my face to understand I will always have the best intention for you and the village, and not all Uchihas are bad, okay? Shisui said and offered his hand to Naruto, who after a bit of thinking, cautiously shook the hand with a small smile on his face. Whilst the two boys were talking among themselves, Hiruzen was thinking about what Shisui said and the implications. He knew he was right, there could be more attempts to capture Naruto or worse by the Uchiha, and he needed to be able to protect himself. He couldn't risk entailing shinobi to follow and protect Naruto because if there is an attempt, it would only raise suspicions and potentially accelerate the Uchiha's plans. Okay, Shisui, you are right. However, this needs to be played very delicately and discreetly. Naruto, I am going to send you to the Nara clan to reside with them. I want to make it clear though that this won't be permanent as no clan is allowed to adopt you, due to the power residing within you, to prevent a power struggle between the clans. Instead, the Nara clan is going to assess your shadow capabilities and see if they can help. Now, under no circumstances are they obliged to teach you their techniques or explain them to you, those belong to them, and it will be their choice. The plan is for you to learn as much as you can in the next 2 years so you can join the academy in time for the 3rd year with the other clan heirs. I hope this is all okay for you. I understand you might have wanted to do this at your own pace, however our circumstances have changed and we need to prepare you for everything. The Sandaime carefully explained, he can't force the Naras to even take Naruto in, however once he explains the situation to Shikaku, he is sure he would understand. Naruto meanwhile was deep in thought over how in the last few hours his whole life has turned upside down. One second he was being attacked by 2 shinobi, and now he is going to be living with the Nara clan he read about in the books the Hokage gave him. It is certainly a crazy development, but one he can't complain about too much. Sure Sway, I want you to take Naruto to the Nara compound. Ask for Shikaku and give him a breakdown of the situation. Ask Shikaku to come here as soon as you drop Naruto off, whilst you stay there to keep an eye on him until he gets back. Naruto, I will check up on you soon. That's a promise, the Hokage ordered, and with a quick nod of his head, Sure Sway grabbed Naruto and disappeared. At the Nara compound, so the bishop moves diagonally but the rook in a straight line in a perpendicular manner? Naruto asked slowly, trying to remember all the rules about shogi whilst examining the cool-looking pieces. Since walking into the clan compound, he has seen most of the residents in the compound playing this game. From his initial impressions, the clan were pretty laid back. People were either relaxing or playing shogi. The compound itself was fairly modest and simplistic. The main thing was the massive forest surrounding the compound where mile-high trees and deer resided. After Sure Sway dropped him off and spoke to the clan leader, Shikaku, who promptly disappeared to speak to the Hokage, he was introduced to Shikamaru and Yoshino, the son and wife of Shikaku. Yoshino went off to make some food for their guests and encouraged Shikamaru to find something to do with Naruto, since it was late at night so cloud watching was difficult. Shogi was the next logical choice to Shikamaru. Yeah, something like that. Let's have a game or two. It's easier to understand it through trial and error. Shikamaru practically yawned out as he sat down and set the game up, as he made the first move. As the game was going on, Shikamaru couldn't help but think something was up. Although fairly lazy, his mind was already as sharp as teenagers and some adults, so he knew something was going. After all, it isn't every day an outsider joins the clan. Checkmate, he absent-mindedly told Naruto, who was preoccupied trying to figure out what just happened. After a few huffs and puffs, Naruto set up the board again, wanting for a second chance to prove himself. Troublesome, the young Nara heir thought. If there is one thing he was almost certain on, is that his life was going to change due to the blonde enigma in front him. 6 months later, I knew I would be right. Troublesome blonde, Shikamaru thought, trying to analyze the situation in front of him. Compared to his usual laid-back and relaxed stance, Shikamaru was sat upright and was practically burning a hole into the shogi board with how intensely he was trying to decipher the situation. On the other side of the board was the reason for his exasperation. The small form of Naruto Uzumaki was sat across from him. However, it was his expression that really frustrated the Nara heir, because he clearly had no idea what was going on. This makes no sense at all. He shouldn't be making moves like that. They are completely illogical, Shikamaru thought whilst making a move after 5 minutes of intense thinking. He was left speechless by the next move Naruto made. Check, Shika. And since you can't move anywhere else, that's checkmate, right? The grinning face of Naruto exclaimed happily as he got up to do a victory dance. The reason why he was so happy? Well, after 6 months, Naruto had finally beaten Shikamaru for the first time after losing every other time. Before he could celebrate any further and gloat a little, the boys heard the voice of Yoshino Nara calling for Shikamaru to help set the table, as Shikaku was coming back from a meeting with the Hokage and Yoshino wanted the family to eat all together. As Shikamaru left and Naruto decided to pack up the board and the area they sat in, he couldn't help but reflect on his last 6 months, and how much yet how little actually changed. Flashback 6 months ago. As soon as Shikaku had returned 6 months ago, Sure Sway had left after giving him a thankful nod. He set up a guest bedroom next to Shikamaru and explained to Naruto the living arrangements and what was to be expected. There were really only 2 main rules in the Nara compound, and more specifically under the head family. First, do not ever disobey Yoshino, unless you're willing to face her wrath. And secondly, do not enter the deer forest without supervision of one of the Nara elders or Shikaku himself. Naruto, at the time, quickly obliged, not willing to find out any of the consequences associated with breaking the rules. The following morning, Naruto did not know what to expect, but he was not ready for his life to seemingly continue like normal. No one at the clan asked any questions or acted any different. They all just accepted he was there and let him go about his day, just how they do with any other member of the clan. Everyone was smart enough to figure out that if an outsider was in the clan head knew about it and agreed to it, so no need to act suspicious or different. For the whole day Naruto had wandered about, and just explored whilst avoiding the forest and listening to Yoshino. His biggest highlight per day was playing shogi with Shikamaru. This continued for 3 days before he grew bored and asked Shikamaru to take him to his father, thinking it would be troublesome otherwise. Shikamaru agreed and simply pointed Naruto to where the office is before going back to cloud watching. Come in. Ah, Naruto, you're actually later than I thought you would be, Shikaku said simply as Naruto entered his office. Seeing the confused look on his face, he chose to continue. From how Hokage-sama described you, I was expecting you yesterday actually. He smiled gently as realization was visible on Naruto's face. I'm assuming you're here to ask about our and by extension your shadow abilities, and help in controlling those abilities? Shikaku said as he got up and picked out a few books from his shelves and handing them to Naruto. Here's what we're going to do. You are first going to learn about a little something called in-release, which is what essentially our shadow abilities fall under. You're also going to work on basic chakra exercises with Shikamaru as well as general academy preparation. Both of you, as pre-academy students, are only allowed access to a limited section of the clan library. It will only be the material that would be given to you in the first 2 years of the academy anyways. Once he gave Naruto all the books and scrolls he needed, it ended in a small mountain the size of Naruto, which he was trying to balance without falling over. Now once you have learned everything from these scrolls, we will work on advancing your technique, is this clear? Shikaka said, and once he heard a small yes from behind the books, he dismissed Naruto and got back to his own work. Flashback end. What no one expected was for how eager Naruto was to learn. Shikaku had given him enough material to last 6 months, however he had memorized all of the books and scrolls within the first 2 months. Completely understanding them took another month though. Although not a Nara, Naruto's IQ was pretty high, and definitely more advanced than most kids their age. From what Naruto understood, his abilities were given to him from being the Jinchuriki of the nine-tailed beast, the Kyuubi, which was a being of immense chakra which was compromised of yin and yang. Speaking of the Kyuubi, he hasn't heard its voice again since that night 6 months ago. He's been trying to contact it and ask questions but to no success so far. Following the initial discovery about his abilities and understanding the theory behind it, Naruto began learning about what he can actually do with his shadows. That has been grueling and difficult work. After trying to replicate the results of the night he got attacked, he learned that it wouldn't be as easy as when the Kyuubi took over his body. To be able to fully submerge himself into the shadows, he would need excellent chakra control. This is something he and the Nara family could relate to. To be able to control the shadows, they would need to be able to spread their chakra through their own shadows and mold it to move it how they would imagine it. This was the beauty of yin release, similar to how hand signs molded chakra for you and the jutsu would be released how you envision it. The same principle would be applied to the shadows. The Nara family would use the rat sign to focus their chakra onto their shadow and then control and wield it. Although requiring excellent control, they have it a bit easier since their reserves are much smaller. The main consequence of this would be they could get overwhelmed by someone with much more chakra than them. Naruto has the opposite problem. Being a Jinchuriki and an Uzumaki, he had enough chakra not to worry about being overwhelmed unless he's way out of his depths. He is only 6 years old for now after all, but the control is much more difficult. Instead, for the last 3 months, Naruto has worked tirelessly on his chakra control. He had mastered the initial leaf balancing to the point where he could balance multiple leaves all over his body, and he was working on currently adding spins to each leaf. Shikamaru had it easier and was able to hold less leaves on his body but was able to add spin to all of them. The next stage would be increasing the number of leaves and working on adding different spins to each leaf. On top of that, he has continued to learn, read and understand the various books and scrolls available to him. These included world and village history, chakra natures and affinities as well as general pieces of information which would be needed down the line. Outside of his studies, Naruto was what he would classify as play studying with Shikamaru when playing shogi. Although he was only doing it for fun and because he enjoyed it, he was able to appreciate that his strategic thinking would improve every time he played against the young genius, although always losing, up until today anyways. Hearing the voice of Shikaka enter the compound and Yoshino calling him for dinner, Naruto wrapped up the tidying and joined the family for food. But yeah, Hokage-sama said we are free to handle the situation how we want. We just need to be careful not to encroach into any of the other clan compounds. Shikaka said as he made himself a plate as the boys sat down, and Yoshino sat down too. We need to figure out what is going on in our forest. The deer are in distress over someone, or something hunting the newly born fawns. They keep being hunted at night, so we have to approach this delicately to prevent ourselves from being harmed. Shikaka finished off, as Yoshino encouraged him to change the topic seeing how interested Naruto was in the discussion, and not wanting him to do anything reckless. Naruto in the meantime was thinking about the situation. This situation presented itself a couple of days ago, when a deer came towards the compound and practically dragged a Nara member to the location of one of the dead fawns. The shocking situation was how mutilated the body seemed. This led to panic among the clan members over the situation and how to deal with it. Naruto was thinking he could take this opportunity to thank the Nara family for everything they had done for him, by finding out what was going on. After finishing their dinner, Naruto excused himself, and went back into his room to carefully think about how he would go about his plan. He was going tonight once everyone else had gone to sleep, so he didn't have to worry anyone. Rereading some of the scrolls and books he had on hunting and stealth, Naruto wanted to make sure he would be prepared. Going into his wardrobe, he picked out what was becoming his favorite outfit since figuring out his shadow abilities. Wearing maroon colors bottoms, which were loose enough to be classified as comfortable but not baggy, a plain black t-shirt and black shinobi boots. Overall it was pretty basic but fit into his newfound skill set. However, his next article of clothing was his definite favorite as it was a gift from the Hokage, the week after he settled into the Nara compound. It was a trench coat-like design which reached to his waist with long wide sleeves and the word of shadow written going down the middle of the coat at the back. On the inside of the coat, and along the sleeves were a couple of seals which the Sandaime promised to teach Naruto once he was a bit older. He loved every bit of his outfit for how it made him look as well as the future implications with it. Grabbing a rope, and wrapping it around his right hand and arm, Naruto sat down again and thought about his plan whilst testing his capabilities with the shadows. He was able to submerge pieces of his body into the shadows, but he hasn't tried submerging his head yet. Part of the reason was due to the PTSD he still suffered a little from 6 months ago, every time he gets close to sinking his head into the shadows. He remembers the night clearly and what he did. He knew that if it came down to it, he would be able to submerge his whole body, albeit for a short period of time as his control wasn't the best yet. But he knew that for tonight he would have to rely on his other skills and abilities. He was quick, smart, and agile, and if this thing was only hunting baby fawns, it couldn't be that much of a threat. Whether he was confident or arrogant, time will tell. Having waited for everyone to fall asleep, Naruto went into one of the clan's training grounds and found some of the discarded kunai. Whether they were chipped or dull, they would do for now as he didn't have his own set yet. He doesn't know if he will need to kill or if he will be able to, but he didn't want to take chances in case it came down to it. Continuing his walk to the edge of the training ground and to the surrounding forest, he followed the direction which he knew the deer would be, a clearing in the middle with a small lake where most of the animals would sleep and usually drink water and relax. Getting to the edge of the clearing, Naruto keenly observed the beautiful sight around him. A couple of meters in front of him, the large lake reflected the glistening image of the full moon high above the starry night, and surrounding this lake a herd of deer were gathered and what he guessed asleep. Looking carefully, he was able to identify that the baby fawns were in the middle of the group with some of the older and muscular-looking deer, some with antlers, were around the edge of the herd, the protectors if anything goes wrong. Continuing along the edge of the clearing, Naruto tried to find anything interesting that could give a clue as to what has been going on. Coming across a few broken twigs and branches, Naruto decided to follow the trail until he saw some blood leading into the depth of the forest and away from the clearing with the other deer. Quickening his pace, Naruto found the source of the blood, a small fawn, who can have been more alive than a week, was laying on the floor, with claw marks all over its body and a chunk of its neck missing. Realizing he was too late, Naruto offered a small prayer before trying to find any more details on what happened. His thoughts were interrupted by a small twig breaking to his left. Quickly turning around towards the sound, Naruto came face to face with nothing but his heartbeat was going crazy. Stupid paranoia. It's a forest with deer. I shouldn't be that scared. These are only Naruto started before the voice of the QB screamed behind you. Jumping away and turning around, Naruto barely avoided a swipe for the back of his neck. Once he landed, Naruto's eyes widened as he came across two very bright yellow eyes. I am so screwed, Naruto thought as he stared into the bright yellow eyes that were piercing into his soul. He was frozen as the powerful form of a jet black panther kept its gaze on him, and its bright white teeth seemed to be the only color visible other than the eyes, the perfect predator of the night. Naruto quickly deduced that this creature must be the reason as to why some of the baby fawns have been hunted and killed. Backing away slowly, Naruto was hoping not to startle the beast. However, with every step backwards he took, the panther took one step forward whilst growling menacingly. This continued until Naruto's back hit the tree. I was wrong. Now I am screwed. He was really regretting going alone. Trying a different approach, Naruto tried to make himself bigger and screamed to try and intimidate the panther. It worked initially as it took a step back, but quickly realizing the ruse, it only grew more enraged. Taking a swipe at him, Naruto barely managed to avoid the paw before he found himself against another tree. I need to alert someone, he thought, and began molding and flaring his chakra hoping someone would find him. However, as he did so he found himself sinking into the shadow of the tree. He was going to stop himself, however the panther sensed its prey and lunged at Naruto. Before it could reach him, Naruto sped up the process and disappeared. In the Shadow Realm, opening his eyes, he witnessed the Shadow Realm for the first time. This will take some getting used to, Naruto said out loud as he analyzed his surroundings. Essentially, the Shadow Realm was the exact same as the real world with some few key differences obviously. Looking around, Naruto saw he was still in the forest, but almost on an endless platform of sorts with some gaps around where he was standing. Where light hit the real world, it was reflected in this realm as the gaps, and Naruto guessed he wouldn't be able to enter those areas. However, where there were shadows in the real world, these were portrayed as shadowy outlines in this world. Naruto could see the shadow of the tree he was standing in, as well as the surrounding shadows of the other trees in the forest, which all had connecting shadows he could travel through and between. The most interesting thing was the shadowy figure of the panther standing in front of him. He couldn't see anything regarding its physical appearance other than the outline of its shadows. He could see its head tilting in confusion at what must have just happened. Starting to feel a little lightheaded, Naruto knew he would have to hurry up as this was quite chakra taxing. Stepping towards the still prone form of the animal, whilst avoiding all the light sections, Naruto noticed that his speed was greater than in the normal world, which definitely worked in his favor. Starting to stalk the panther, which was heading back to the body of the lifeless deer, Naruto quickly formulated a plan and began untying the rope he brought with him. Waiting until he could see the outline of the panther eat the shadow of the corpse, Naruto's hands emerged from beneath the animal, and quickly tied them all up before emerging fully and tying the paws to its head whilst it continued to try and struggle against the bind. Once he secured the bind, Naruto finally allowed himself to regain his breath. Clearly, being in the Shadow Realm was a lot more taxing than he thought. He was interrupted by a feminine growling voice. UGH, I can't believe it. A human cub caught me off guard. They will never let me live this down. The now identified, feminine voice of the panther rang out. Probably doesn't even know how to wipe his own ass yet, she mumbled out with a heavy sigh. I do know how to wipe my ass. You can't act all tough and make. Naruto glared at the panther, His fiery side coming out after being insulted before realization dawned on him. Wait a second, you're a summon? He asked, having read about them from the scrolls and books given to him. Yeah, no shit. Now take those binds of me so I can enjoy my dinner, the panther said, still struggling against the ropes that bound it. Not until you answer a few of my questions, Summon-san. Why are you here? I don't remember Panther being part of Konoha's summons. Why have you been hunting and killing deer here? I thought as a being of chakra you wouldn't need to consume food in the traditional sense. Who are they that you were talking about? And most importantly, why the hell were you trying to kill me? Getting hungry and not being bothered to prolong this any longer, the summon chose to get this done with as quickly as possible. First of, it's not Summon-san, my name is Amaya. Call me anything else and it will be the last thing you will say. Amaya started as she looked Naruto into his eyes. I stumbled onto this village by accident. The reason as to why I was hunting is also why I'm currently in your world. Our first and only summoner died some time ago. Usually, a summoner always has the next heir of the contract ready. We got unlucky that our summoner was banished from their village and never picked a heir. Us as summons are only able to live as such whilst being contracted to a summoner. Without one, we begin losing our abilities which define us as summons. So for instance the Jaguar family, including us the Panthers, are having a harder time to mold chakra and are in need of consuming food in order to stay alive. It hasn't affected our elders and stronger members of our clan yet, however the younger cubs, including myself, are all beginning to suffer. Naruto at this point was listening intently to Amaya. The scrolls and books he received from the Hokage and Shikaku barely covered the basics of summoning, the examples, the most famous ones per village, and what they are, but none of these details. Seeing no interruptions, Amaya continued. That's who they are, my family, more specifically my two older siblings. These two clowns love teasing me and bullying me for being weaker than them. I decided to prove them wrong and try to find some worthy summoners for our clan. As for you, to be honest, you surprised me. Amaya mumbled the final part, clearly embarrassed someone had gotten the drop on her. I hadn't eaten in a few days and was worried you were trying to go for my dinner. It was more of a warning swipe than actual intent to kill you. The last part caused Naruto to sweat drop, thinking he nearly was going to lose his life to a misunderstanding. Deeming it safe enough, Naruto untied Amaya and took a precautionary step back just in case. Listen, whilst I understand your situation, you can't keep hunting the deer here. They are pretty much sacred and respected by the Nara clan. If you keep it up, you will get hunted down, so please stop. You should use the training grounds and surrounding forests outside the village. I will speak to Gigi and tell him I'm going to practice my hunting abilities so there will be no suspicions of any dead animals, etc. Naruto said in a semi-stern and semi-caring manner. Hearing the chatter of people approaching them, Naruto quickly removed any signs of the previous struggle, including the blood of the baby fawn, before addressing Amaya again. You have to go now, quickly before they get here. They are usually laid back but have been stressed and on edge recently because of you. So please get going, Naruto urged, and without turning back went on to meet the Nara members approaching. Thank you, Amaya said slowly. No human had ever shown her this much care and thoughtfulness. Usually they would try to hunt her or be scared of her. Instead, this kid had not just captured her but let her go and also gave her an alternative to continue surviving. Grabbing the fawn in her mouth, she quickly leapt away, a couple of seconds before the Nara members joined. Naruto, what happened? We felt your chakra flare. Is all okay? The voice of Shikaku, joined by two Nara jonin, asked worriedly. Analyzing the situation around him, he didn't seem to notice anything amiss, which already set alarm bells in his head. If there was no sort of conflict or problems, Naruto would have no reason to flare his chakra. Instead, the clearing looks too tidy and well kept. Something was definitely amiss. Yeah, it is all fine now. I was trying to do the Nara clan a favor by finding out what was hunting the fawns. I saw a small fox at the edge of the clearing which was planning on pouncing. I chased it down before it could and flared my chakra in case there would be more. It ended up fleeing towards the village walls at the edge of the forest. I saw its den as well and destroyed it, so it shouldn't have a reason to come back. Naruto was impressed by how quickly he was able to come up with a lie. Initially he could see none of them buying it. However, using their fear of the Kyuubi and mentioning a fox as well as destroying its den seemed to have swayed the belief in his direction. The two Nara jonin expressed their gratitude and motioned for him to join them on the way back, with the promise of letting the whole clan know tomorrow morning. Shikaku in the meantime kept observing the clearing and the surroundings. He wasn't going to press the issue, choosing to trust Naruto as he had never given him a reason not to. Even as he saw a pair of bright yellow eyes keenly observing the whole interaction, and in the end staring Shikaku in the eyes too, before Shikaku turned around and joined the others. 6 months later, the remaining 6 months were fairly productive for Naruto, involving a lot of training. He continued working with Shikamaru on his chakra control and academy exercises. Shikamaru had low genin level chakra reserves but high genin level chakra control. He had mastered the leaf balancing technique where he could litter leaves all around his body and spin them all in various directions and speeds. Already thinking that was way too tiring and enough, Shikamaru was hoping that would be enough training until he joined the academy at least. However, living with a hyperactive blonde with a thirst for knowledge and strength as well as a nagging mother who would encourage him to train, that wasn't an option. Every single time Naruto trained, he would be forced to join too, either by Naruto dragging him, or his mother using her pot as a method of convincing him. Speaking of the hyperactive blonde, He had also mastered the leaf balancing exercise, however he had high genin level chakra reserves but low genin level control. Both boys currently had learnt the 3 basic techniques, the Shunshin, the Kawarimi and the Bunshin. However, the smallest amount of Bunshins Naruto was able to create was still in the hundreds. Outside of the 3 basic techniques, both boys began learning the Shuriken Jutsu recently thanks to the sets of Kunai and Shuriken gifted to both boys by the Hokage himself. Naruto received it since the Hokage still took it upon himself to look after Naruto's need, and for Shikamaru, he received it as a thank you gesture to the Nara taking Naruto in. Although initially starting as a lie to cover for Amiya, Naruto did begin training his survival skills more and would occasionally drag Shikamaru with him. After speaking to the Hokage, Naruto thought he might as well take the opportunity to actually learn something, and so he would travel to different training grounds every weekend in order to test himself. Of course, before doing so, he had to promise and let the Sandaime and Shikaku know where he was going, and he had to read all the available information on camping, hunting and survival. He would usually camp out to see how it feels. The initial few times he had to leave early and come back as he wasn't able to handle the situation properly. Through numerous trial and error, both boys were now able to spend a full weekend in the woods and be successful in hunting small animals and prey. What Naruto did not tell anyone is that every once in a while, he would meet up and play with Amiya. He still worried for her safety, so chose to keep this secret to himself. The playing involved her being the prey and Naruto having to find and hunt her, and then vice versa in order to further improve his hunting and stealth skills. Through the numerous meetings, Naruto managed to learn a few things about Amiya and her clan. Firstly, he found out she was technically still a cub. She was only a few months old when they met, and had actually been using some of her remaining chakra to make her size bigger. She was actually the size of a small wolf now without using her chakra, compared to the size of her brothers who were the size of grown panthers. Speaking of her brothers, Naruto found out Amiya belonged to the jaguar summoning clan, and the panthers were type of jaguars known for their stealth and muscular size usually. Dragging his thought back to the current activity he found himself in, Shikamaru had just won their latest shogi game. The difference being they were playing on a brand new Purple Heartwood game set which Naruto got him for his birthday 2 months ago. It set Naruto back a little bit and dug into his savings. However, to Naruto it was worth it. Shikamaru was his first real friend and at this point something like a brother to him with how much time they spent together, even though they have 2 very different personalities. It was for this reason Naruto had saved up for months in order to surprise him and say thank you. This led to Shikamaru moving faster than either his parents or friends had ever seen and embraced Naruto in a fierce hug whilst thanking him with some tears in his eyes. Speaking of friends, Naruto was introduced to Choji and Ino when Shikaku invited the parents and told them to bring their kids. Naruto and Ino instantly butted heads over their stubborn personality once Ino tried to boss them around as soon as she got comfortable around him, which Naruto would have none of. Shikamaru and Choji simply chose to observe their interaction, already knowing what Ino was like from the numerous time their parents organized the 3 of them to hang out. Unlike Ino and Naruto, Choji got on with Naruto instantly, and their biggest form of bonding involved eating contests. After the game was packed away, Naruto went into his room to get dressed and go to a meeting that the Hokage set up. Not much has changed in terms of appearance, however he now had 1 kunai pouch on his right thigh and 1 shuriken pouch on his left thigh. What differentiated them from regular pouches though were the engravings on each pouch. Each pouch had the Uzumaki and Nara symbol engraved on them in an intersecting manner, think of a Venn diagram, which was also included on the sleeves of his coat and black t-shirts. This was a gift from Shikamaru and his family on Naruto's birthday, symbolizing the bond and link the Uzumaki had formed with the Nara clan and family. Of course, when Naruto received this gift, similar to Shikamaru although more expected, he had engulfed the whole family in a hug as big as his little arms could manage. At the Hokage office, come in the aged voice of the Sandaime Hokage called out to what he was assuming was Naruto knocking, which he was proven right about. Naruto-kun, punctual as ever. Thank you for coming down, he added, resulting in a bright grin and small bow from Naruto. Now the reason for bringing you here is simple. We are going to discuss the next part of your training. Judging by the look on your face, you were hoping to continue staying with Nara family and training there, right? To which Naruto simply gave a firm nod with a small sad smile, already understanding that this wouldn't be the case. Unfortunately, we can't do that. You see, a year before they enter the academy, most clans take that opportunity to teach clan secrets and techniques to their academy hopefuls, and although the Nara family were happy to keep you with them and try to teach you, I figured it would be best to try and help you with one of your own secrets, the Hokage subtly said, hoping Naruto would understand the hidden meaning of his words, and judging by the boy's widened eyes he did. Yes, exactly, that power, Naruto-kun. You are to meet Raven and Bird tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. at the Hokage's training grounds, behind the Hokage Tower. I have already added your chakra signatures to the training grounds, so you should be able to enter it without any problems. Now if that is all okay with you, makes sense, you should spend the rest of the night with the Naras. I'm sure they'll want to say their goodbyes too. The Sandaime concluded and gave Naruto a small smile, which Naruto returned with a small bow and a big grin on his face, letting the Hokage know it was fine and he'll be okay. The next morning, on his way to the training ground, Naruto couldn't help but have a small sad smile on his face. Last night was deemed as a celebratory event, and even though not usually heavy on the emotions, the Naras made sure to let Naruto know he would be missed, and is always welcome to come and visit. Although only a year, Naruto certainly made all of their lives a lot brighter and more entertaining, and whilst not a Nara will always be seen as family, especially by Shikaku, Yoshino and Shikamaru. Continuing his walk behind the Hokage tower, Naruto was convinced he was lost. The Sandaime gave Naruto clear instructions on how to find the hidden training ground, however all Naruto could see were trees, and oh yeah, more trees. I should probably head back. Maybe Gigi got something wrong. I mean, he is pretty what the heck? Naruto exclaimed loudly. One second he was walking straight past some trees and the next he was in a massive training ground. Probably the biggest he's ever seen, with a large lake in the middle, training dummies and targets and trees surrounding the whole field. Looking back, he could still see the Hokage tower, which just confused him more as to why he didn't see the training ground. Taking a few steps back, he noticed the training ground disappear again, replaced by the same trees as before until he walked forward again, making it reappear. This is so cool, he screamed out, and for the next minute or two he was jumping between what he determined the edge of the training area and the woods, making it constantly appear and disappear. This continued for a few minutes until he was interrupted by a loud noise to his left side. Ahem, if you're done? The amused voice of Bird rang out from the training ground whilst Raven was handing him a small wad of cash. I told you he would find it cool, Itachi. Anyone would. You're the only robotic anomaly, my dear friend. A training ground that can't be seen unless you know where to look and have your Churka signature registered? How is that not cool? Bird said gleefully as he started counting the cash, taking his partner's momentary distraction as his cue to start speaking. Please keep our identity as secret, Naruto-kun. Bird seems to forget sometimes we are meant to be secretive and BU, but as he said, my name is Itachi. Itachi, Uchiha Itachi said in a matter-of-fact manner. There wasn't much Naruto could deduce from his tone. Oh, whatever. If we are going to train him, we might as well get a bit personal and learn to trust each other, Bird said and began taking off his mask. As my emotion-lacking partner was saying, you have to keep our identity a secret as well as these training sessions. Now that is clear, I am Hiruzen Uchiha, and we will try to help you get in touch with the Kyuubi, and see what else we can do, he finished off with a wide grin. A few days later, Naruto was currently sat in a meditative position under the shade of one of the big trees in the training ground. Itachi and Hiruzen were both right beside him with chakra suppression seals and their Sharingan eyes active and ready. Over the last few days, the two A and BU teens were teaching Naruto how to meditate and differentiate between his different chakra signatures. Due to his already large natural reserves, Naruto never really considered checking for the other signature that resided within him. After explaining to him the difference and how to find the second signature as well as how to correctly meditate and clear his head, all three deemed that today would be the day Naruto would try to make contact with the Kyuubi. After what felt like hours, Naruto was starting to feel impatient and bored. This isn't working. Is there no other way I can OW? He was interrupted by a fist hitting the top of his head. Unless you want to take your luck with me throwing you off a cliff and see if that helps, I suggest you zip it and continue, Hiruzen said with a huff. What he was not willing to tell Naruto was that he was growing impatient too and was also beginning to question his methods. That is until he felt Naruto go completely stiff before seemingly going limp and still maintaining his meditative posture. Here we go, Itachi, be ready. In Naruto's mindscape. I'm just saying, this clearly isn't working. Surely there is a different way for me to meet the Kyuubi, Naruto said in an almost defeated manner. Yeah, you could just open your eyes. Then again, of course my jailer has to be an idiot, a deep and growling voice said, causing Naruto to open his eyes wide in shock and fear at the sight of the Kyuubi locked up behind bars looking directly at him. Ah yes, the fear. I miss seeing this. It really does make one feel alive, the Kyuubi said menacingly with a wide grin showing off his massive white sharp fangs. Now then, to what do I owe the displeasure of your ugly visage, the Kyuubi said in a mocking tone. Who you calling ugly, you flea-ridden furball? I bet under your fur is just a bunch of fat flea-ridden furball, Naruto yelled back, his previous fear and shock disappearing and being replaced by anger. He quickly had to leap back to dodge the large claw rushing forward ready to pierce through him. Let me make one thing very clear, human, you are lucky to have these bars stopping me from ripping you apart. Now you better tell me very quickly as to why you are here. This is your final chance, it bellowed out, making Naruto realize this might be his only chance. Okay, fine. I'm sorry, okay? I didn't think the mighty Kyuubi would be so touchy about fleas. Naruto began with his arms up in a placating manner but allowed a small smirk to firm as he saw the eyes of the Kyuubi narrow dangerously. I'm here to talk, that's all. I want to know more about you, more about that night 7 years ago, why you attacked, and more about my abilities, because until I heard your voice that night I didn't show signs of these abilities and none of the previous Jinchuriki had those abilities. The last part was fairly new information to Naruto, which only presented itself after he convinced the Sandaime to give him more info and details regarding the Jinchuriki and tailed beasts in the world. What he found out surprised him, especially that both previous hosts of the Kyuubi were Uzumaki. The Hokage promised to give him more information once he graduated the academy, sitting down, at a fairly safe distance, to show he wasn't planning on leaving any time soon and did not want to cause any more arguments or problems. He simply waited for the Kyuubi to respond. After a few minutes of the Kyuubi intently staring down Naruto, his eyes relaxed a little. Definitely not the worst container I had. Weak as hell, but I like how he thinks. Might as well entertain this a little to see how it goes, the QB thought before choosing to address the questions. I will answer what I want, and you will take what I give you, nothing more, do you understand? The QB began, and only after Naruto nodded showing his understanding did it continue. You won't know about me or my history until I deem you worthy, which you are not by at least a millennium of years. As to why I attacked, I was controlled by a member of the Uchiha. Relax, it's none currently in the village, otherwise I would have taken over your body myself and gotten rid of him. About your abilities, when your yondaime sealed me away, your little puny body wasn't able to handle all of my chakra. Instead he split me in half, you have my in half, and he sealed the yan half into himself. That is how your abilities came about, through me. My previous hosts were older and more developed than you, so were able to handle all of my chakra, which as a result was perfectly balanced between yin and yang. Giving Naruto a minute to take all of this in, the QB continued on once Naruto seemed ready. Now yin release makes up half of what chakra is composed of. It is responsible for the imagination and form of chakra. Yin is half the reason as to how us-tailed beasts were made. Anyways, another form of yin release is what you humans call genjutsu. You are only able to do that because of yin release. You're quite lucky because usually as a Jinchuriki it would be impossible to do genjutsu due to your abnormal chakra reserves and as a result poor control. However, with enough control of the yin release you should be able to use genjutsu as long as your chakra control is decent enough. Same thing with your shadows and those Nara people, they're all bastardies versions of pure yin release. Pouring chakra into your shadow allows you to control it how you see fit. Now with this technique being even more supercharged by my own power, you were able to enter the shadows and move through them. The QB finally finished, allowing Naruto, who was currently sat wide-eyed with his mouth agape, to take all of this information in. However, he was not ready for the next words coming out of Naruto's mouth. Thank you? Naruto said as he stood and bowed deeply, giving his thanks to the QB. Although maybe getting off on the wrong foot, he appreciated everything the QB just told him. It didn't have to go into so much detail and history, but it did, and for that he will be forever thankful. You have definitely given me more than I expected. Hopefully I can make use of this information. I just have one more question, if that is okay? Naruto asked the last part in a respectful manner, knowing the QB didn't have to answer it. Cheeky, but I will allow it. Whether I will answer it though is a different question. The QB said before gesturing for Naruto to continue. This mindscape is quite plain. I'm guessing you can't change it, otherwise you would have, right? So does that mean it is up to me to change it? Naruto asked shyly while looking down, which caused him to miss the slight widening of the QB's eyes. Composing himself before Naruto could notice, it simply offered a plain yes before beginning to feel Naruto being woken up in the real world. However, before fully disappearing, Naruto called out, "This is a better way of thanking you. I will speak to you soon." Before leaving the mindscape again. Stupid brat, the QB grumbled out. However, he couldn't help the small grin forming at the edge of his maw as he noticed the mindscape beginning to change. Back in the real world, he's beginning to wake up. Shursui, stop poking his face. The stoic voice of Itachi reprimanded Shursui, who was busy poking Naruto, to wake him. Although only 6 seconds passed in the real world, the Hokage warned them that time would move differently inside his mindscape, so they didn't want to take risks. Not knowing how long Naruto spent inside. Opening his eyes, both Uchihas noticed a brief flash of red passing through Naruto's usually bright blue orbs, and simply uttered, "That was certainly interesting," he said with a wide grin, causing both Uchihas to look at each other and ponder the implications. 1 year later. I do want to make it clear though, you all still have a long way to go. Whilst your parents, clan members and outside assessors have all vouched for your skills, you are not genin yet. You still have 2 years left of the academy, and anything can happen. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep doing the village and yourself proud. The proud smile of the Hokage addressed all of the academy hopefuls in front of him. However, what was different with this cohort of hopefuls was that all of them were clan members. Naruto was standing with the Nara family, for obvious reasons, whilst all the other 8 9-year-olds were standing with their parents, or other clan representatives. It wasn't just major clans like Uchiha, Nara and Hyuga, but rather smaller clans from across the land of fire too, like the Iburi, Kagetsu and Fuma clans too, who wanted to try their luck in Konoha's academy compared to the smaller academies in their smaller villages. They were all entering the academy next week, ready for the 3rd year, and were all looking to complete the necessary 2 years before becoming genin. Naruto knew he would pass, he had to. For the last 2 years, he had trained his ass off ready for this exact moment, and last year itself was even more intense following a certain night. Flashback. 10 months ago. It has been 2 months since Naruto began training with the Uchiha pair, and it was grueling hard work. Since communicating with the QB, the Uchiha pair has worked Naruto to the bone in order to hone the skill set he already has. Although not increasing his chakra levels yet, they worked to perfect his control by teaching him the tree walking exercise, and once he mastered that, they began working on him evading objects whilst hanging onto one. He was able to lower his Bunshin to a minimum of 10 and increase the speed of his Shunshin and Kawarimi to be able to do them without hand signs. He was also able to enter his shadow realm within 5 seconds and stay hidden for 30 seconds without moving, to simply avoid being seen, or travel along the shadows for 10 seconds before having to resubmerge, as he calls it. He was about to enter his apartment, given to him by the Sandaime after leaving the Naras. When the voice of the Kyuubi rang out, "Stop, there is someone else here, hide yourself quick," it warned. Heeding its advice, Naruto promptly disappeared into the shadows and opened his eyes to see what was going on. This was another thing that changed. The more he was entering the shadows, the clearer his surroundings got. His Uchiha senseis thought it had to do with his chakra control. The more precise his control, the clearer he could see and identify his surroundings. Currently, instead of just seeing shadowy figures and outlines, he was able to discern more details of his surroundings, such as objects on tables as well as differences in people's attires. Moving into his apartment through the shadows and observing the figure, Naruto was able to identify that the person was using a crane and had his right arm wrapped in some sort of bandage or sling. He wasn't too sure. Continuing to watch the person, they weren't moving and simply sat down, seemingly waiting for Naruto to return. "I can't sense any hostility from him. You should be safe, but be ready to move," the voice of the Kyuubi warned him. Naruto took that moment to appear in his room before walking out to confront the person. "Uzumaki, I assume you know who I am? Also, how did you get in? I didn't see or sense you appear via Shunshin or something similar until you magically appeared." The voice of his visitor rang out before Naruto actually entered the living room and got a look at the person still sitting on his couch. "Elder Danzo, of course I know who you are. Sandaime-sama made sure I know of all important people in the village, even the elders. Speaking of the Hokage-sama, you should know he is on his way here for our weekly walks." "To what do I owe the visit?" Naruto asked innocently whilst reinforcing the Sama to let Danzo know to be careful what to say next. Yes, the Hokage told Naruto to keep his head on a swivel around Danzo and not to trust him at all. Not wanting to pry any further, he agreed at the time, and judging by Danzo's narrowed eyes, Naruto knew the Sandaime had a point. Danzo meanwhile was letting the sly insult pass but kept his eyes narrowed over Naruto, ignoring his second part of the questions, and not giving anything away in terms of his abilities. "I'm going to make this quick. I can already feel Hiruzen approaching. The Uchihas aren't done with you. They are planning on attacking in nearly a year, and if they are going for you again, you won't be able to escape again. Not at your current power level. You've been doing well, but there needs to be more. Remember my words, you need to be ready." Danzo finished and left before Hiruzen arrived, and Naruto explaining the situation. Present day, heading into the Hokage's personal training ground again after the small speech, Naruto instantly sank into shadows and began traveling around the training ground, choosing to reappear and disappear across different areas in order to continue getting used to the Shadow Realm. He was currently able to stay hidden with minimal movement for a minute, and was able to continually travel for 30 seconds inside the realm before having to fully reappear and replenish his chakra reserves. Following the impromptu meeting with Danzo, the Sandaime chose to fill Naruto in about the situation and what was happening. Apparently the Hokage has been trying to ease tensions between the Uchiha clan and their view on the village, however nothing seemed to be working. First, the Hokage tried to advertise and increase missions for the village which requested the Uchiha clan members. However, all that led to was their arrogance rising and feeling even more entitled due to the increase in demand. When that didn't work, the Sandaime tried to incorporate more Uchiha in different teams where necessary. However, once again that didn't prove to be successful when mission reports highlighted the Uchiha's lack of care for their teammates, often even casting jutsu with their teammates still in the way. When he finally had enough of these actions, the Sandaime confronted Fugaku about all that was happening, which just led to Fugaku growing infuriated by the village using the Uchiha as scapegoats and storming out of the meeting, hence the increase in Naruto's training intensity. Other than further improving Naruto's chakra levels and controls, the Uchiha pair continued to hone the basics into Naruto until he was practically perfect in all he had previously learned. Naruto currently had low Chunin chakra levels and low Chunin control, and as such was able to do the 3 basic techniques instantly with no hand signs. He was also able to spar whilst tree climbing for several minutes. However, his most impressive new skill set was Genjutsu. Once he learned about his Ine release, the two Uchihas saw it fit to spend their time teaching Naruto in their speciality, compared to other ninja arts. The fact that he had spent all his previous time working on chakra control really came to help Naruto when they began teaching him. After teaching Naruto the basics and principles, they quickly figured out that he was a natural at illusionary arts. He seemed to have a naturally large and wide imagination which allowed him to come up with various different ideas. Although only at a C rank, the beauty of Genjutsu is that if your target doesn't know they are in one, it is unbeatable. Naruto's most impressive usage of Genjutsu is upon mixing it with his shadow abilities. Being able to cast a subtle Genjutsu or even distract an opponent whilst Naruto disappears into the shadows was a genius thought. As well as using his shadows as part of an attack and an illusion. He wasn't able to use his shadows to bind an opponent like the Nara family, but he was starting to be able to use any shadow he is occupying to form spear-like attacks. With more control and large chakra reserves, Naruto would be able to use the mix of his abilities and imagination to a devastating effect. Other than mixing the shadows with Genjutsu, they discovered another ability which Naruto recently developed, and it had to do with the red flash in Naruto's eyes following the first meeting. After the initial meeting with the Kyuubi, Naruto would make sure to continue visiting his new mindscape, which was now a vast forest with little villages, structures and animals. Sometimes the Kyuubi would be in its massive size and cause havoc, sometimes it would lower its size in order to hunt and terrorize individual villagers, and sometimes the Kyuubi was simply napping beneath the shade of a tree. Anyways, after a few more meetings, the Kyuubi expressed his thanks to Naruto for the mindscape and keeping company. It still reminded Naruto that should he slip up, it will take over his body, but for now the Kyuubi gave Naruto a gift, not wanting to feel indebted to a lowly human. It was a Bastardi's version of a dojutsu. It didn't have any special abilities like the Byakugan or Sharingan, but by channeling yin chakra into his eyes, Naruto was able to cast his genjutsu through eye contact. The part Naruto enjoyed the most? The red glint it gave his eyes, of course, as he kept going on about how cool he looks. Finishing his training for the day, Naruto decided to head home before the murder of crows appeared before him, signifying Itachi's signature Shunshin and causing Naruto to stop and listen to what Itachi came to tell him. Naruto-kun, before I get to the reason as to why I am here, I just want to pass on a message from the Hokage, myself and Shunsui. We are all incredibly proud of you. Whilst we might have been training you a little this last year, it was mainly through your eagerness and willingness to learn. We only pointed you into the right direction when needed because we were on the mission which you know about, which is the reason why I'm here. Itachi began, and Naruto's happy grinning face began turning serious, understanding the implications. Other than you and Danzo, no one knows outside of Shunsui. Me and the Hokage, Itachi said as a single small tear was falling from his face. Naruto, tonight is the night. Me and Shunsui are going to have to commit a heinous act tonight for the safety of the village. However, it won't be portrayed as such to maintain the reputation and image of Konoha. We need you to know though that we are proud of you. Although we had a limited time together, you made the last year more bearable and provided us with some positivity in a largely negative environment. At this point Naruto was openly crying and weeping. Although the two teenage boys were busy for the most part, Naruto saw them as something akin to older brothers and can't deny that without them, Naruto wouldn't be at the current level he is. Later that night, for obvious reasons, Naruto was not able to sleep. Once he was done talking to Itachi, the Uchiha team disappeared in a murder of crows and leaving Naruto to his own thoughts for the rest of the day. He hadn't seen Shunsui as he was apparently on a final recon mission for tonight, but Shunsui had always been more open about his feelings and emotions, so Naruto knew how much they meant to each other. What do you think I should do? I know I won't be able to do much or anything, but maybe I can convince them to stay? Maybe I can do something, you know? Naruto asked out loud to seemingly no one. The silence continued for a few seconds before he heard back. You know I share your mindscape, right? I know what you're thinking and therefore we both know you have already made up your mind. Just be careful. They are one of the strongest clans for a reason, those red-eyed bastards, the Kyuubi grumbled out, not happy to admit that the clan that was responsible for controlling him twice was actually strong. Stealing his nerves, Naruto got up and made his way to the Uchiha district. A few minutes later, bodies, blood and horror was everywhere Naruto walked. He had already emptied his stomach twice after seeing the scenes in front of him. He would have had to puke more but physically wasn't able to. He was seeing constant flashbacks of his own night with the Uchiha 2 years ago, which caused him to freeze up initially. However, after hearing the signs of struggles and fighting in the distance, Naruto was broken out of his stupor and rushed towards the sounds. What he saw worried him greatly. Shunsui was engaged in a fight with what he recognized to be Fugaku, whilst Itachi was fighting against the Uchiha military police commanders, essentially shinobi of the Uchiha clan, which were close to ANBU level. Both teenagers seemed to be struggling from the constant non-stop fighting they had been carrying out all night. Although most of the clan was disposed of in a peaceful manner whilst they were asleep or were too weak to offer much of a resistance, Fugaku deserved some credit because as soon as they realized what was happening, he managed to organize the entire military police force to intercept the two teenage traitors. I don't care too much about you, Shunsui, but you, Itachi? How dare you? After everything we have done for you. You were meant to be our heir. I was paving the way for you and your future children. And this is how you repay us? Fugaku yelled across to his son as he was still fighting Shunsui. Dodging under a Tanto swing from Shunsui, Fugaku quickly kicked him away before following it up with a massive fireball, classic of the Uchiha clan, which Shunsui was able to predict and match with his own fireball due to having his Sharingan eyes activated. Father, I never agreed with your ways. I tried to let you know and I tried to sway your way but nothing worked. This is hurting me more than you realize. You think I wanted to do this? To my family? To my clan? Itachi started calmly but let his anger show towards the end as he activated his newly discovered Manjiki Sharingan, and screamed out Amaterasu as he set one of the officers aflame and dodged one of the remaining 5 officers from slashing him down. Don't you dare use those eyes. You only received them at the cost of my wife, your mother. You demon! Fugaku screamed out as he tried to attack Itachi just for Shunsui to use his signature Shunshin to appear at Fugaku's side and kick him back away from Itachi's battle. He was starting to get worried though. He was running low on chakra and although on a normal day would be able to beat Fugaku, he has been fighting and killing Uchiha members for some time before Fugaku let himself known, using his own members as fodder to slow them down. Shunsui knew they had to finish this soon and activated his own Manjiki before re-engaging in his fight with Fugaku. Itachi meanwhile had disposed of 2 more officers and was engaging the final 3 in combat. His eyes widened however when he felt a power surge from Shursui's fight, but it wasn't from Shunsui. You brats think you're the only ones with those eyes? It's only a shame it cost me taking the life of my brother to activate those. Fugaku said cynically as a black ribcage formed around his body, causing Shursui to activate his own Susanoo and form his green ribcage. The situation had just gone from bad to worse, and both Uchiha teens knew if they don't wrap this up, they would fail and the village would be in danger. Something seems to have answered their prayers, as one of the remaining officers fell to the floor, grabbing his ankles, which were bleeding. Somehow his Achilles was severed, making him unable to stand. Not being one to miss out on such an opportunity, Itachi rushed forward and impaled the officer with a kunai, whilst the remaining two were on guard and had just avoided a pair of hands aiming to do the same thing to them as their comrade. Understanding what was happening, Itachi rushed forward to engage one of the remaining officers, whilst the last one was seemingly busy trying to avoid the kunai being thrown at him from nearby shadows. Once disposed, Itachi gave Naruto a silent thank you before engaging the final assailant for evening the playing fields a little bit. He knew there was still the issue of his father, but Shursui seems to have it under control, judging by the Tanto currently impaling his father. It's done, Fugaku. You've lost. Itachi has just killed off the last of your police commanders. The Tanto nicked one of your lungs, judging by your raspy breathing and the blood beginning to pool. Don't make this any harder than it has to be. Shursui tried to offer him some form of compassion out of respect. He was momentarily distracted though by the scream of a child near Itachi. However, the only child he knew was around happened to be Naruto, who had helped Itachi. Fearing the worst, he turned his head to see the scream belonged to the small form of Sasuke, who came into the scene as the Tanto had impaled his father. The momentary distraction proved fatal when Fugaku mustered his final strength and plunged a kunai deep into where Shursui's heart would be before falling limp, finally defeated. Shusui! The panicked voice of Naruto rang out as he ran towards the body of Shursui, which had fallen next to the lifeless body of Fugaku. Itachi in the meantime was dealing with his younger brother by casting a genjutsu on him. Getting to Shursui's body, Naruto was crying silent tears as he was begging him to stay alive. Please Shursui, you have to stay alive. You can't just die like that. Naruto, listen, I don't have much time, I can't explain. But you need to destroy my eyes, Shursui began weakly. He didn't have much time left, and both boys knew it. They hold a power in them that can turn the shinobi world upside down. Naruto, I'm proud of you, you're going to be a great shinobi, the best. And with those final words, Shursui Uchiha was no more, giving his life for the village. Knowing what he was asked to do, Naruto took a few seconds to mourn for his friend and teacher before steeling himself and carrying out Shursui's final wishes. A few minutes later, Itachi had just finished burning the body of his father and gave Shursui a small funeral. With a final prayer, Itachi rejoined Naruto and sat beside him. He knew they didn't have much time, as the Sandaime knew what was going on and gave the boys time to rest and disappear before the village would find out what happened. Thank you, Naruto-kun. Without you, Shursui and I wouldn't have been able to complete our mission. Now you know what will happen next. Shursui was meant to join me, but I guess I will have to walk the rest of this road alone. Itachi began as a lone tear fell from his eye. Remember, no one knows and no one can know. Before you ask, Sasuke was placed in my genjutsu, so he will believe I was the only one that carried out his treason and was Shursui's death. It will further back this up. Itachi slowly rose from his sitting position and gave Naruto one final small smile. Please try to be friends with Sasuke. I want him to love the village the way I did before disappearing in his traditional flock of crows. Before Naruto chose that moment to also disappear into the shadows before he would be seen around the future crime scene. Although burning most of the bodies, Itachi made sure to leave enough pieces, as gruesome as it sounds, to highlight the murder that was carried out. 2 years later, the last 2 years went by in a flash for Naruto. It almost felt like the time was skipped. Following the Uchiha clan massacre, as it was being called by the village, Naruto had to continue his life as if he wasn't affected by the situation. In a way, it wasn't, but something inside Naruto had changed. He wasn't necessarily cold, but going through such a traumatic experience of seeing what he classified as a close friend die in his arms caused Naruto to mature a little faster than other kids his age would have. It was for this reason that the third year especially was practically useless to Naruto except for the physical conditioning. Although not the strongest in his class, Naruto was definitely among one of the stronger students, except for a powerhouse like Choji, or a brash brawler like Kiba. That year definitely made him realize that he was too reliant on chakra and was struggling when he wasn't allowed to use it. This led to Naruto working more on his physique and strength, as well as developing his own taijutsu style, which could be implemented with the use of his shadows and genjutsu capabilities. Essentially, it was a fighting style that relied on distracting his opponents with feints or attacks to the face, causing them to lose concentration and then able him to slip into his shadows or cast his deceptive illusions. He titled it the Kagejaimen. It still had a long way to go, but it was a work in progress. There was only one interesting event that was worth mentioning last year, and it didn't actually involve him but rather the Hyuga heiress, Hinata. 1 year ago, it was getting towards the end of the year and each student was undergoing the final part of their emotional/mental conditioning, and it was Hinata's turn. She already hated those sessions anyways, however she knew she had to finish them in order to pass. She just hoped this was it. Knocking meekly on Ibiki's door, she waited a little bit but didn't hear anything back. Trying again, it was met with the same result. She was about to try one last time when she heard from inside the office. If you knock like that again, I'll make sure you lose your hand. Not properly or go home. The gruff voice of what she assumed was Ibiki was heard. Taking a few minutes to compose herself, Hinata ended up knocking slightly harder than she did before and heard the voice again calling out, still pathetic, but come in. Once she entered the room, she saw Ibiki sat in his chair, looking at their captive for the day through the single-sided mirror in his office connecting it to the interrogation room. The captive only saw a mirror, but Ibiki would be able to look in. Seeing Ibiki smirk and following his gaze into the interrogation room, Hinata froze in fear. Sat in the room next to her was the Kumo delegate that tried to kidnap her earlier this year. What not many people knew was that Kumo and Konoha were in the midst of peace talks when the Kumo delegate responsible for the negotiations tried to kidnap Hinata when she was on her way back from the academy. The delegate figured that would be the easiest time, as she was only being protected by her single guard, compared to trying to steal her from the compound itself when she was surrounded by Hyuga members and their Byakugan. The assailant was quickly captured though by the combined efforts of Hayashi and his brother Hizashi before demanding blood, but had to settle to the delegate being given to the torture and interrogation department first. The Raikage reassured them he had no involvement in that situation, which was proven correct by the TI department, as the delegate was acting on his own, hoping to be seen as a hero upon his return. It was for that reason an international event was prevented. Hiruzen promised they wouldn't try to gain village secrets from the delegate if, upon request from Hayashi to help his daughter, they could use him for this specific task later that year. After a bunch of back and forth, A chose to agree with the demands as long as a Kumo shinobi was present during the interrogation at the time to ensure Konoha upheld their part of the deal. Anyways, the delegate was to be killed by Hinata in order to build her character and hopefully set her straight into the path of a kunoichi. Otherwise Hayashi had to give up on her as a heir. No one exactly knew what happened in that room. However, once she returned to class the following week, due to some mental recuperation, she was a different person. Present day, following her session, Hinata became a brand new person. Although not shy anymore, she mostly kept to herself but would still speak when spoken to, and she also lost her stutter and shyness and was able to actually communicate with people now. Naruto's attention was drawn back to reality by the arrival of his teacher, Irika, who was informing the class about the final part of their graduation exam, the survival test. The class had finished everything else they needed to do. For the taijutsu portion, they were examined first against other students and then against the chunin teachers. For the genjutsu portion, they had to cast and break out of a D-rank genjutsu. For the ninjutsu portion, they had to cast one elemental jutsu to an appropriate level and standard. Naruto knew he had passed all of those portions, without having received his results yet. The students would receive their results with their genin teams next week, if they passed. From what he understood, you don't have to pass all of the sections, but you have to do either average in all of the categories or exceptionally well in specific ones. That's how Rock Lee had passed the previous year apparently. Although failing the ninjutsu portion and not being able to cast genjutsu, he was able to break free from the D-rank illusion by causing himself some small pain and keeping himself attentive to his surroundings. He also aced the taijutsu portion by not just lasting against the chunin instructor but actually beating one of the more cocky ones who saw him as no threat since he couldn't mold chakra. Lastly, he aced the survival portion, causing him to finish among the bottom half of the class, but he graduated nonetheless. Anyways, Naruto's fourth year was definitely his most favorite due to how practical it was and what he had discovered about himself. 1 year ago, Hiruzen Sarutobi had to forcefully pick up his jaw from the floor, an action that was mimicked by Irika. It was tradition that the academy students would find out their nature affinities in the presence of the Hokage, so that the leader of the village would have a rough idea as to what his future shinobi hopefuls were able to do. The reason for their current shocked stupor was the most recent genin hopeful, Naruto Uzumaki. "Naruto-kun, do it again please," the surprised voice of Sarutobi said as he handed Naruto another piece of chakra paper. "I'm not saying it was a mistake, but I just want to make absolutely certain that this is correct," he said as he leaned back against his chair and watched Naruto pour chakra into his paper. Although expecting it this time, he was still surprised when the chakra paper first turned completely black before the piece of paper simultaneously split in two, with the left side combusting, not just setting on fire, and the right side completely being soaked. "Impressive, very very impressive, Naruto-kun. You know what this means, right? You have 3 chakra natures, and based on how it all happened simultaneously, and with how intense, they all seem as dominant as each other. As for the blackness, that's to do with your in release, I'm assuming?" "Yeah, and the QB said the fire release is due to him being sealed inside me and us actually having some contact and mental link. I personally think he's a massive softer though, and wanted to give me a gift for the change in scenery," Naruto said with a smile, before it turned into a straight wide grin. "Nope, never mind, he is using some very colorful language right now." The third Hokage simply gave a raised eyebrow in response. He knew about everything regarding Naruto's skills and progress due to the updates he chose to give him, and it was for that reason he wasn't worried. Considering Naruto trusted the beast to some degree and there hasn't been a real accident since the initial attack, except for 3 years ago, he chose to give the situation the benefit of the doubt. Irika, on the other hand, although being informed of Naruto's situation, to help explain some of his progress and abilities, was still taken aback by how close he seemed to the QB. Present day, just having the natures didn't mean he was going to pass. He made sure, however, that he kept practicing one jutsu for each affinity to perfection. He didn't just want to pass, he wanted to be the best. The 3 he performed in his exam were the fire style, fireball jutsu, water style, water shield jutsu, and lastly wind style, great breakthrough jutsu. For the genjutsu portion of the exam, he used his current favorite technique in release, shadow mutations, which was a very so C-rank technique and would manipulate the shadows around a person appear as if they're figures, animals or glowing eyes lurking and ready to attack and pounce. Lastly, he was able to hold his own against one of the Chunin instructors in the taijutsu spar until the time limit was reached, but it was clear Naruto was dominating, even though the Chunin held back. His only real competition was Sasuke Uchiha, and one thing was certain, he did not want to lose to that snobby arrogant brat. For the last 2 years, Naruto had to put up with the arrogance and haughty nature from the last loyal Uchiha. As the village began hailing, he didn't speak to his classmates, he demanded and looked down on them. It was worse for Naruto as he was an orphan who was competing with Sasuke for Rookie of the Year, causing Sasuke to focus his attitude and arrogance towards him and belittle him where he could. I don't know what the hell Itachi did to him, but God, I do not like him. This is it though, one final examination and then I don't to see him again, Naruto thought as he barely listened to the survival instructions for tomorrow. This isn't too bad, if anything it's quite fun, Naruto said amusedly. The class of genin hopefuls had been dropped off outside the village, near one of the many small dense forests. It was perfectly safe since for miles on end they would still be in High no Kuni, and all of the Chunin examiners have been positioned around the forest to make sure no one actually gets lost. The task was simple. They had to survive for a day and camp out in the forest for 1 day, and then as soon the sun was at the highest point in the sky, signaled by a flare too, the students had to race back. The fun part was that the closer you got the village, the more traps and animals you would encounter to slow you down and deter you. Otherwise anyone could camp out near the edge of the village and just head back. The academy made sure that if you were going to go down that route, you'd have to earn it. For Naruto, he had chosen to simply explore the forest on the first day and go hunting for food before choosing to settle down in a random location and rest for the night. Upon seeing and hearing the flare, Naruto raced towards the village. However, he was interrupted from his journey by a loud scream a little further ahead. Figuring it was in his direction anyways, Naruto decided to submerge himself into his shadows and accelerate his traveling speed. What he saw didn't really surprise him. Sakura Haruna was currently cornered against a tree as a large wolf, nearly the size of her 10-year-old live frame, was snarling its fangs at her, ready to rip her apart. Now most of the academy students would be able to deter the wild beast or at least fight it off. However, Sakura has always been useless in Naruto's opinion. In an academy setting she excelled. She was able to cast and expel genjutsu and cast her jutsu. However, every time she sparred she would be worried about her outfit and getting it dirty, or during every survival training exercise she would be trying to tag along with Sasuke and get him to look after her, to no success of course. She shouldn't be able to pass the academy realistically, but Naruto knew her mom was part of the council and apparently was whoring herself out to most of the academy assessors to pass her daughter, but those are just rumors. We both know they are more than just rumors. We've seen her around the academy with messy hair or stained clothes. Anyways, the world would be better off without her, no? The QB said in a bored tone as it was looking through the eyes of Naruto occasionally. Yeah, but unlike you I have a moral code. She's useless but still part of the village. I can't just let her be mauled like that. Naruto sighed out and knew what he had to do, unfortunately. Wind style. Great breakthrough, Naruto said as he inhaled deeply and blew out a strong gust of wind to blow the wolf away quite a few meters and leave it dazed. You good, Pinky? Naruto said as he held out his hand for him to help Sakura up. EW, get away, Naruto Baka. I don't want your orphan germs. Sasuke-kun was meant to save me. Not you. And what did I tell you about calling me Pinky? She shrieked out as she was preparing to swing for his head. However, Naruto ducked under the slow punch before throwing a light jab to the middle of her face, and the next thing she knew was the kunai at her throat being held by Naruto, from behind her. Now insulting me is one thing. But if you ever, and I mean ever, try to attack me in any shape, way or form again, I will personally slit your throat and make it look like an accident. Am I clear, Banshee? Naruto said in an ice-cold tone, which quickly led to Sakura hurriedly agreeing. What he wasn't ready for was for the previous wolf to return, but with its pack this time, 5 in total. Now normally he could simply disappear into his shadows and escape. However, doing so would leave Sakura to be shred to pieces. Damn his moral code. He however quickly learned how difficult it was to try and fend off attackers whilst trying to defend someone, and was quickly becoming overwhelmed, a fact the pack of wolves were beginning to take advantage of. Every time he was trying to cast a jutsu on one of them, another would make a run at Sakura or try to sneak up behind him. He slipped up as one of the wolves managed to get behind him and was ready to bite down on his neck when a black blur tackled it to the ground and ripped out its throat with its own sharp fangs. Amaya? You have no idea how good it is to see you. Perfect timing, Naruto said as he was joined by the muscular and feline form of Amaya, in her full natural form. Yes, I am amazing, I know. We need to have a chat after this, Amaya said as she eyed the remaining 4 wolves in front of them. However, realizing the situation has turned against them, they quickly retreated. Oh. That's all it took? Disappointing, I was hoping for more food. Now as I was she was interrupted by Naruto signaling her to wait, and glanced towards the shocked form of Sakura. that must have never seen or heard of a summon. Pinky! Focus. I'm leaving, you're on your own now. You better start running if you want to pass and more importantly survive, Naruto said before turning around and beginning to head off, not wanting to spend more time by wasting it. Let's talk whilst heading back, Amaya. It will be difficult coming first now, Naruto said as Amaya started leaping away with him. 1 week later, Naruto was currently sat in the academy classroom for the final time. It was confirmed yesterday who had passed and who hadn't after accumulating all of the results from all of the examinations. Today, sat with him are all the officials. Genin of Konohagakure. Some of the graduates did not surprise him at all, such as Sasuke, Shikamaru or Hinata. However, Sakura graduating still came as shock to him, or not if he was choosing to listen to the rumors. He was brought out of his musings by Amaya jumping into his lap wanting some affection and attention. Following the incident last week, she described to him the Panther clan had picked an interest in him, and following all the meetings and run-ins Amaya and Naruto had, she vouched he would be the perfect summoner for the struggling Panther clan. Whether it was Amaya's insistence or the struggling state of the Panther clan, the boss summon, Amaya's mother, chose to accept Naruto as their latest summoner, but he would still have to prove himself at a later date to deem how worthy he actually was to summon the Panthers. He had to stop his petting of his new familiar summon as the voice of Sasuke called out to him. Give me it, he simply demanded with Sakura encouraging him from behind, which Naruto simply chose to ignore. Oh, orphan, I'm talking to you, Sasuke said in an annoyed manner, not believing an orphan would ignore him. He seems to forget that he became an orphan too following what Itachi did. However, this must be Sasuke's way of deflecting since he believes his situation is different from Naruto's since he never knew his parents, after all. He was losing his patience quickly and decided to take action by reaching out to grab the panther on Naruto's lap. He had to stop his action though as Amaya jumped up from Naruto's lap to take a swipe at Sasuke's face, which he barely had time to dodge, taking out a kunai. Sasuke was ready to attack the growling panther when he suddenly found himself face first laying on the classroom floor. Courtesy of the seal, Naruto managed to slap on his back when he was focused on the panther. God, I love Fuinjutsu. As for you, Emo, no point in struggling, it's a gravity seal set at 3 times your body weight. You're not moving anytime soon. I will only say this once, you don't demand from me or anyone actually. Amaya is MY summon, she's part of MY family. Just because yours ceased to exist, doesn't mean you tried to claim someone else's. Next time you try this, you will regret it, Naruto said as he glared at Sasuke with a small red flash passing through his eyes and chose to reiterate his point by casting a small genjutsu on Sasuke of horrible torture and pain Naruto would cause him. Choosing to sit back down and let Iruka deal with Sasuke, once he came in, Naruto went back to petting Amaya and was happy he got the Fuinjutsu formula right. Otherwise Sasuke would have been crushed into paste. 1 year ago, Naruto was having the time of his life. The class were currently in the final week of learning about Fuinjutsu after weeks and weeks of calligraphy and theory and the dangers, about what could go wrong and how lethal it can be. After continuous trial and error, the academy students were able to create small sealing scrolls, and some were able to create small explosive tags. Naruto, however, wasn't some. After the first lesson on creating seals, Naruto was able to create the sealing scrolls and explosive tags on his first try. For some reason Fuinjutsu naturally occurred to him, running out of things they could teach him, since they only taught the basics. Iruka had recommended Naruto to speak to the Sandaime. What followed was the revelations of the Uzumaki clan and his mother, Kushina. Although initially wanting to wait until he graduates, the Sandaime figured he might as take this opportunity now compared to prolonging it. What followed was the history of the Uzumaki clan, as far as they knew it, and his mother Kushina and her importance to Konoha both as the Jinchuriki, and the one of their best shinobi. What was also included was a small letter from his mother explaining how much she loved him and apologizing for not being present. She also explained how she had asked the Sandaime to keep her and Naruto's father's identity as a secret in order to protect him. However, she had included into the letter a small seal containing scrolls and information on Fuinjutsu and specific Uzumaki Fuinjutsu as well as some of her own water techniques. The most surprising thing was something called chakra chains, though, which he would find more information on in their home compound once Hiruzen deemed him ready. Present day. After the meeting, Naruto had promised himself, the memory of his mother, and his family line that he would make the Uzumaki clan proud. He began working on Fuinjutsu whenever he could, and the result was the seal still currently on Sasuke's back. A gravity seal he had applied on himself in order to aid his training a couple of months ago. Naruto himself was currently on the 2nd level out of a total 10, where he felt like he was submerged under water constantly. Sasuke's seal was a modified version because Naruto did not want to take risks with the 1st level. After a couple of minutes, Iruka walked in and saw the state of Sasuke. Judging by Naruto's small smirk, Iruka knew what was going or what happened at least. Sighing, he chose to remove the sealing tag on his back before telling Sasuke to not make a fuss and go sit down, and chose to address the class. He wasn't even going to try and get Naruto's attention. The boy was furiously scribbling down different kanji and ideas. Iruka knew that when Naruto entered this mode, there was no breaking him out of it unless he chose to. The Rookie of the Year Naruto Uzumaki, Sasuke Uchiha and Sakura Haruno under Kakashi Hatake. Naruto barely registered Iruka reading his team out. Looking up, he saw the whole class staring at him, well except for Sasuke, who was openly glaring at him with jealousy and anger. What? Something on my face? Also, where is Amaya? Naruto asked whilst touching his face all over and checking underneath his desk and looking around the classroom. You got Rookie of the Year Naruto-san and your summon chose to disappear once you stopped giving her attention. The voice Hinata Hyuga, the Kunoichi of the Year, called out to him from behind. Oh. Nice. Thanks Hinata. Naruto said before going back to his scribbling, causing the class and Irika to sweat drop at his antics. 3 hours later. Aha! Finally! Oi Shika, look at this! Naruto said and turned to his side in order to speak to Shikamaru, only to realize he wasn't there anymore. Looking around him, he realized no one was around him. Except for Sakura and Sasuke, who was brooding to the side. Eh? Banshee. What's going on? Naruto called out to Sakura after she had just tried asking Sasuke out again just for him to ignore her again. Of course you didn't realize you were taught any manners, so you don't know when to listen. Sakura began in a condescending tone, hoping it would score her brownie points with her crush. However, seeing Naruto narrow his eyes dangerously, she chose to answer his question quickly. Ahem, anyways, we got our team assignments. We are on the same team and everyone else got picked up by their sensei 3 hours ago. We are still waiting for this Kakashi guy to arrive. You got Rookie of the Year. How you managed to cheat yourself into it I don't know. We all know Sasuke-kun deserves it. Maybe they gave it to you because they feel sorry for you for being alone. Sakura sneered, hoping Sasuke would join in the bashing of Naruto. However, she was left disappointed by both boys still ignoring her. Sasuke was openly glaring at Naruto again because he was working on the seals on his coat that Sasuke couldn't figure out. Naruto had stopped listening after Sakura mentioned Rookie of the Year, figuring it would be useless information after. Instead, he was working on the coat he received as a gift from the Sandaime all those years ago. It turns out the seals on the arm sleeves were storage seals which Naruto did not understand at the time, and for the last 3 hours he had been working on improving that seal. He read in one of the Fuinjutsu scrolls about blood seals and how they were an improvement on normal storage seals. Since he knew he was going to start going on missions, he did not want to waste his efforts carrying backpacks and too many scrolls. However, he also wanted to make sure no one else had access to his belongings, especially being teamed with the 2 unstable teammates he currently had. So he decided to tweak the normal storage seals into blood seals. Other than that, his outfit hasn't changed from when he was living in the Nara household, just minus the leg pouches and the addition of the headband on his forehead. Yo, the 3 genin heard from the door and turned their head to see what must be their sensei Kakashi. You're not worth an opinion yet. Shunshin to the roof, I'll meet you there, he simply said before disappearing. The 3 genin mimicked the action, 2 of them disappearing in a standard Shunshin and the last one being swallowed up by his own shadow. On the roof, cute Shunshin blondie Kakashi said in his traditional eye smile and bored tone, to which Naruto simply offered his own smile before sitting down. Okay, let's get to the point. You're not genin yet. You have to pass a separate test by me to see if you have what it takes to become actual genin. Otherwise you'll be sent back to the academy, Kakashi said before sitting down and looking each of them. His statement got the reaction he hoped for. Sasuke, who was brooding, sent a sharp glare his way. Sakura audibly gasped and Naruto simply raised his eyebrows, although judging by his stiff shoulders, he was tense too. I can see you're quite shocked. How about we introduce ourselves a little to ease the tension? He suggested in a comforting manner, as if he didn't just drop a bombshell on them. Seeing none of them starting, he chose to lead by example. Okay. I want to know things like your likes, dislikes, hobbies and dreams. For example, my name is Kakashi Hatake. I like some things and dislike some things. I have some hobbies but also some dreams. Your go. Go on, Pinky. Okay, sure, yeah. My name is Sakura Haruno. I love like never mind. I also like to read and buy pretty dresses. I hate being called Pinky or Banshee, she began as she initially looked at Sasuke and then Naruto afterwards. For my hobbies I like to take long relaxing baths and stalk. I mean bird watching, yes that's what I mean. As for my dreams, it's being with a certain someone. She finished off with a massive blush on her face and a small trickle of blood coming down her nose. She really is pathetic. This is going to take a lot of work, Kakashi thought with a heavy sigh. Okay Amo, you're up next. The name is Sasuke Uchiha. Not Amo, make sure you respect the Uchiha na. I will say this once, civilian, you don't demand from me. I might not be the Hokage, but not just MIA Jonin but also your potential sensei. Now if you want things from me, you ask and we'll make sure to use your PS and QS. Am I clear? Kakashi said from beside Sasuke. Other than his usual bored tone, Sasuke was frightened by Kakashi's hand being coated in lightning with the respective arm resting on Sasuke's shoulder, so the sound of the chirping birds were deafening to Sasuke. After a few seconds and making sure Sasuke understood he was being serious, Kakashi dissipated his jutsu and returned to his seat and gestured for him to continue. As I was saying, Sasuke Uchiha. I don't like anything but I dislike. No, I hate one person more than anything in this world. He is my hobby and my dream, more specifically to kill him and avenge my clan. Nice, a disrespectful, revenge-driven, broken Uchiha. I just hope he doesn't meet Itachi anytime soon, because if he managed to murder his whole clan, Sasuke wouldn't last a split second, Kakashi thought seriously. Okay, Blondie, go on. Okay, Scarecrow. Naruto said with a small smirk as Kakashi's lone visible eyebrow rose at the remark. I like training, the Naras and Amayu-chan. I dislike. He gestured towards the two oblivious teammates who were ignoring him, but Kakashi understood. I also dislike arrogant and ignorant people. For my hobbies I like training and spending time with Amayu as well as improving my own knowledge. My dream is to make my clan proud, whether that's as the Hokage or the most powerful shinobi in the world. We'll see. I guess Naruto finished off while Sakura was openly laugh and Sasuke had a small sneer on his face. But this didn't bother Naruto, because Kakashi had given him an honest and genuine smile, not the teasing little eye smiles he would do to enrage them even further. Interesting, very interesting, Kakashi thought as he eyed the blonde rookie of the year for a bit longer before addressing the whole team again. Okay, like I said earlier, real genin test tomorrow, 6 a.m., training ground 7. I'd recommend not eating breakfast. See ya. And he disappeared in plume of smoke. Not having a reason to stay, Naruto chose to leave too and prepare himself, and so he got engulfed in his own shadow and disappeared. 9 a.m. the next day, training ground 7. Yo! The form of Kakashi appeared in the middle of the training ground to look at his two genin. Wait, two? Where's Naruto? Kakashi asked and had a look around. He was here at 6 a.m. but left shortly after. Also, you're late. Sakura began reprimanding Kakashi. However, before she got far in her screaming, Naruto appeared, slurping on some ramen from Ichiraku's. Yo, he simply said before sitting down to finish his meal. You're late and I thought I told you not to eat before the exam? Kakashi asked in a curious manner. Nah, actually you're late. I was here on time and when I figured you would come late like yesterday, I made use of my time, like having breakfast because you only recommended not to eat. It wasn't an order, loopholes, Naruto said with a grin as he sealed the bowl away and stood up, having finished his meal. Interesting. Anyways, I'm not taking questions, so listen up. Here are 2 bells, he said as he pulled out 2 silver bells which all 3 genin watched attentively. The 2 that get them will be my genin. The other goes back to the academy, Kakashi said, and gave his students a few minutes to compose themselves and ask all the questions they had, which he wasn't answering. Now that you got all of this out of your system, the test begins now. As soon as he ushered the word now, he was expecting all 3 genin to run off and hide. What he wasn't expecting was for Naruto to rush towards him and sweep his legs, which he jumped over, just for Naruto to jump up and throw an uppercut to Kakashi's jaw. How did he jump so high? I was certain I was high enough. And he packs a punch, Kakashi thought as he distanced himself a bit. Landing on the ground, Naruto proceeded to give Kakashi no time and continued to pounce on him. Throwing a feint with his left, Naruto proceeded to throw a right hook which Kakashi predicted and stepped back from, only for him to feel a strong connection against his left cheek. Something is not right here. I know I dodged it. He never extended his left arm, he thought. However, he didn't have much time again as once again Naruto was ready to attack him. Taking some time to analyze the situation, Kakashi understood what was happening. Right as Naruto was on him, Kakashi flared his chakra and dispelled the small genjutsu that was being placed every time Naruto attacked. Once dispelled, he realized what Naruto was doing. This time Naruto was crouched halfway ready to hit his stomach, but once Kakashi dispelled the genjutsu, he actually saw Naruto crouched all the way, ready to sweep his legs. Jumping up high enough, he grabbed Naruto by the locker and threw him towards a tree. That's a neat trick, it won't work again though, Kakashi said as he took the moment to compose himself a little and nurse his cheek and jaw. He really does hit hard though, Kakashi thought. He wanted to take his book out and read, but instead he chose to pay attention again as when Naruto was going to impact the tree, he disappeared into the shadow of the tree. Very interesting indeed, Kakashi thought. After a few seconds of nothing happening, Kakashi thought Naruto had chosen to run away and regroup. However, he was surprised by a large fireball heading his way. Thinking it was Naruto, he was surprised it actually came from Sasuke. A fireball this size at this age is impressive. He really is an Uchiha, Kakashi thought happily as he had 2 talented shinobi so far. With Naruto, although wanting to continue to fighting, Naruto knew he wasn't enough to take Kakashi down on his own, so chose to the reasonable thing and try get help, even if it was from the 2 people he liked the least. Finding Sakura, since Sasuke was busy fighting Kakashi, he appeared behind her from her shadow and covered her mouth, knowing she was going to be startled and scream, which she tried. Shush, Banshee, it's me. Listen up, I know you won't work with me willingly, so how about this? We all work together and then you and Sasuke can have a bell so you can spend all your time with him and make him yours. Sounds good, right? You like that? Naruto said in a hushed tone, hoping for Sakura to take the bait. After a few seconds of standing still, she nodded her head rather quickly at the idea of spending her time with Sasuke. Okay, perfect, here's what we're going to do. Back with Kakashi. Talented but massive anger issues, Kakashi thought as he used a Kawarimi to dodge a massive fireball headed his way. Although skillful, Sasuke doesn't have any battle plans but would instead rush in every time without thinking. He was further surprised though by Sakura appearing next to him and whispering something to him whilst concealing her mouth, so Kakashi couldn't lip read. His surprise continued as both Sasuke and Sakura rushed him. It was a very simple but well thought out idea. Whilst Sasuke would attack Kakashi, Sakura would be providing the support. Every time Sasuke attacked low, Sakura would begin throwing kunai and shuriken high so he couldn't jump in order to avoid the attack, and this would continue for every direction of the attack. This continued for a few minutes until both genin were panting hard. However, they had to stop when they heard the alarm go off in the distance. It was cute, I will give you that. I saw some very good things today, but unfortunately none of you got a bell and Naruto seems to have completely given up. Kakashi began and was going to grab the bells, however his hand phased through the bells. What the? How? Kakashi asked with his lone eye raised in surprise and shock. You're getting a bit too complacent, Kakashi-sensei, Naruto said as he appeared from Kakashi's shadow behind him. I know you will do all the teaching, but let me teach you a lesson about me. I have never quit. I don't quit and I will never quit, Naruto said as he gained a determined and serious expression on his face, before giving Kakashi his bells back. I see, that's good to know. Now then, you have 2 bells, who's joining you in my team? Kakashi asked with a curious expression on his face. Meh, them 2 can have it. If they didn't distract you, I wouldn't have been able to sneak up on you, and if it wasn't for Sakura explaining the plan to Sasuke, he would have never listened to me, so everyone played a part. Kind of anyways, Naruto said and threw the 2 bells towards his teammates. Or you can just make all 3 of us your genin, since this was never about bells but rather about teamwork, anyways. Either way, I am either part of the team or not, Naruto said casually and began walking off before adding, I will be here tomorrow from 6 a.m. again training. I guess I will either see you all at 9 a.m. for team training, or I will leave the training ground so you lot can train, and the next second he was engulfed in his shadow before disappearing. Very interesting indeed. Anyways, congrats. See you all tomorrow at 9 a.m. Kakashi said before disappearing too to report to the Hokage. 2 months later, dysfunctional. That is the only way to describe them. This team was going to get him, or themselves killed. They had just finished another deranked mission, and although completing it, he had to stop Sasuke several times from trying to start a fight with this blonde teammate. This started following the genin test. Every time they trained and the fact that Naruto got the bells instead of him, Sasuke would demand for Naruto to give him access to the techniques and jutsu Naruto was using. Every time they sparred, he had to stop Sasuke from actively trying to stab Naruto in the back when the spars would stop. Usually, Naruto would make a small remark or simply dismiss the Uchiha's effort. However, this all changed 2 weeks ago when Sasuke took it too far. 2 weeks ago, Naruto and Amaya were sparring against Sasuke after Naruto had checked if that was okay with Kakashi. The reasoning being that Naruto wanted to work on his chemistry with his summon. Kakashi agreed as long as Sasuke was fine with it, which he simply didn't care about and just wanted to fight. He has lost all of the spars except the few where Naruto was trying something new and was still inexperienced in it, which Sasuke didn't know. Starting the fight, Sasuke instantly rushed Naruto and completely ignored the summon for now, assuming it was simply too weak, since Amaya assumed her smaller stance. Naruto meanwhile was dodging Sasuke's hit with a little difficult. He had recently upped his gravity seals and was still getting used to it. It currently felt like he was trying to balance a massive boulder on each limb. However, Sasuke was barely landing hits on him, but for every 2 hits Sasuke landed, Naruto landed a punch or kick even more powerful. Dodging Sasuke's kunai slash towards his face, Naruto swung his right fist towards Sasuke's face, which was ducked under. Instead of being a balance, Sasuke realized Naruto's punch was a feint as the motion stopped halfway, and instead of fully extending his arm, Naruto brought his elbow down right on top of Sasuke's head, dazing him. Grabbing his head in pain, Sasuke jumped back trying to get some space. What he forgot though was Amaya. The initial small form of Amaya had reverted back to her original size and slashed Sasuke against his back, making him scream in pain. Naruto chose this moment to appear out of Sasuke's shadow and kick Sasuke away. What he didn't expect though was for Sasuke to turn around with his Sharingan, with one tomo in each eye, blazing at him, and plunged a kunai deep into Naruto's shoulder before kicking him away instead. Naruto! Amaya screamed out, but before she was able to help her summoner, Sasuke appeared behind her and plunged a kunai into her back right thigh. Kakashi took this moment to announce the end of the spar as Naruto had gotten up from the previous kick. However, Sasuke wasn't done and tried to ram kunai into the skull of Amaya. If I can't have her as my summon, he defined. He was abruptly stopped by Naruto appearing in front of him in pure speed, having released his gravity seals after seeing what Sasuke had intended, and took Sasuke's own kunai and stabbed the hand that held it initially before grabbing his other wrist and breaking it at the joint. He was stopped from doing more as Kakashi appeared and placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder and simply shook his head, to which Naruto simply took Amaya in his arms and disappeared. Present day, Naruto hadn't said a word that day and continued not to interact with his teammates, choosing to train separately but still spar with Kakashi from time to time. This is as a result lead to Sasuke having to spar with Sakura more often because she used to spar with Kakashi when her teammates fought each other. However, where Kakashi would hold back, but still end up wiping the floor with her because of the infatuation of looking good, Sasuke simply saw her as a waste of time and always disposed of her in ruthless manner. Dysfunctional. The only way to put it. He needed something to help ease the tension of the team, and entering the Hokage's tower, an idea popped into his mind. Mission Office. Team 7 reporting from another successful D-ranked mission. Hokage-sama, Kakashi reported as he and his genin team entered the office. Well done! Now we have some more D-ranked missions you can select from. For example, we have the Sandaime began only to be interrupted by Kakashi stepping forward. I am sorry, Hokage-sama. I do not intend any disrespect. Kakashi began and waited for the Hokage to gesture for him to continue, but I was hoping we could have something a little higher. I do feel the team is ready for such a task, Kakashi said, but indicated with his eyes that there was more to it, and wanted to speak in private. I see. Okay, bring in Tazuna, the Hokage told one of his chunin. After a few minutes, Tazuna the bridge builder came in, clearly a bit tipsy. Your mission will be to escort Tazuna to Nami no Kuni. It is a simple C-ranked mission and at most you might encounter a few bandits, the third Hokage said before leaning back in his chair. Them? It's like you want me to get killed. Other than their sensei, these three have probably only recently finished breastfeeding, he bellowed out before taking a gulp of the bottle in his hand. He spit the alcohol out of his mouth though as he heard a voice speak from behind him. I personally was never breastfed as my parents died at my birth, but don't worry, I'll make sure you won't die to bandits. Turning around abruptly trying to identify the voice, Tazuna was met with nothingness before he turned around again to face the genin in front of him, and guessing by the small smirk on the blonde one's face, he had a good idea as to who the voice belonged to. Whatever, meet me tomorrow at 6 a.m. by the gate, he said and hurriedly rushed out. You heard Tazuna-san, 6 a.m. tomorrow. Don't be late and pack for a 2-week mission, Kakashi said and offered an eye small by the glare he received when he reminded them not to be late. Once the genin had left, Kakashi turned to face the Sandaime who was waiting for this moment, and explained his worried and concerns, and what has been happening within his team. I see, that is indeed troubling. I hope your idea works, otherwise there will have to be changes. I am worried about Sasuke's mental health, keep a close eye on him and report back everything. Am I understood? The Sandaime said in a stern voice and dismissed Kakashi once he nodded. Troubling indeed, the Hokage sighed out. He had a feeling about this mission. A small distance away from Konoha. Please Sasi. I do it for you all the time, why can't you do it for me? You're being selfish, you're literally on my head now. Naruto groaned out with a pout. I am not carrying you on my back. Amaya said and hit Naruto with a slightly chakra-enforced tail swipe from atop his head, causing him to fall face first next to the puddle that Amaya and Kakashi had already been keeping an eye on. Getting up again, the group continued on walking with Sasuke mocking Naruto for not being able to even walk properly and Sakura agreeing and joining in. After a few minutes, two figures, belonging to the demon brothers of the Hidden Mist, rose from the small puddle and faced the direction the group kept on walking in. They didn't see us. Told you this would work, Gozu. One of the gruff voices said out loud through his rebreather. I guess, but something doesn't seem right, Meizu. This seems almost too easy. The genin didn't even notice us even though the blonde one fell and touched the puddle with his hand. However, I was expecting more from the Jonin sensei, Sharingan no Kakashi. I guess we got lucky. Anyways, let's start following them if we are to take out that bridge builder, the now identified Gozu said to his brother Meizu. Few minutes later, Zabuza is really gonna kill him after we get paid? If we survive this, we will end up rich. Meizu exclaimed loudly with stars in his eyes. Yeah, but you might not want to scream this is case the Konoha team hear us, you idiot. Gozu reprimanded his brother. Speaking of them, we should have definitely caught up by now. They can't have moved any faster. Costs of the civilian, Gozu explained to his brother. His suspicions were proven correct when their own puddle, they used to hide in, was seen again in a distance. Before either of them could react or prepare themselves, the image in front of them disappeared and was replaced by the image of the Konoha team standing over them with the blonde genin breathing a bit harder than usual. Sorry, Kakashi-sensei. I completely forgot about such a small detail, Naruto said in an apologetic manner, as he straightened himself out a little and his breathing returned to normal. That being said, this took a lot more out of me than I realized. You got any advice? Kakashi, who had just finished knocking out the two ex-Mizu Chunin, turned to Naruto with a large-eye smile. First off, don't apologize. You did incredibly well. You caught both Chunin-level ninjas in a genjutsu just by touching the puddle. You then managed to alter their perception and reality for long enough for us to gain vital and necessary information. In terms of advice, I'm not the best at genjutsu, but I'll make sure to contact Kurenai. She is currently our best genjutsu user in Konoha, so hopefully she can help. That being said, if you struggled to cast the technique, I'd say that's your chakra control, but if you struggled to hold it for longer, that's probably to do with your chakra capacity to cast such a complex technique. That was probably an A-rank technique. So don't beat yourself up, Kakashi finished off before turning to Tazuna, who hasn't stopped sweating since the capture of the demon brothers. Now why don't you three just relax whilst I have a quick word with Tazuna, he added before disappearing into the woods in a shunshin with Tazuna. A few minutes later, Kakashi had just come back from the woods to find Sasuke tied to a tree with an explosive tag attached to his forehead, and Naruto holding a kunai to his eyes whilst Amaya had her paw at Sasuke's genitals. Neither of the two were moving though. Sasuke knew though if he as much as sneezed, it would be the end of him. Naruto! What's going on? Kakashi asked, but was hesitant to take a step in case it would set Naruto off. Man, not much, same old same old. Little emo boy demanded for the genjutsu technique, and when I told him to do one, he grabbed me by the collar and tried to intimidate me with his pathetic Sharingan. So here we are, Naruto said casually. I see, could you please let him go? We need to head back to the village. This mission got too dangerous, Kakashi urged Naruto, but still not taking a step or making any moves himself. How about this? We continue the mission, and in return I let Sasuke go. You know as well as I do that attack a fellow Konoha shinobi is treason. I am well within my rights to execute him. Now I know the mission got a bit harder, but I honestly think we will be fine. After all, we have Sharingan no Kakashi with us, Naruto said with a small smirk as Sasuke's eyes widened at the title of their sensei, not paying attention earlier when the demon brothers revealed this earlier. Fine, Naruto, but at any point this gets too dangerous, we're heading back. No questions asked? Am I understood? Kakashi said in a serious manner, leaving no room for argument. Nodding his head in agreement, Naruto removed the kunai and rope tying Sasuke before pulling the explosive tag off his head too. Sasuke was glaring daggers at Kakashi, waiting for an explanation, and Naruto was just glad Sasuke's attention was going to be elsewhere for a while. By the way, that was a dud. I wasn't actually going to blow his head off. Naruto rolled his eyes before shouting for Tazuna to join him ahead of the group as they began waking. Few hours later, the Konoha team had just gotten off the Tidal Fisherman's boat and were in the final stretch before reaching the village. This was before Kakashi screamed for everyone to get down to avoid a giant sword from cleaving them all in half. Whilst everyone was still ducking, a thick mist began surrounding the area they stood in before a low growling voice was heard from seemingly everywhere. Sharingan no Kakashi and his 3 little wannabe ninjas. How cute. How about this, you give up the bridge builder and I won't make their deaths too painful. How kind of you, Zabuza. But no, Kakashi countered firmly and began lifting his headband, just in time too as the figure of Zabuza suddenly appeared between them all. Even better, more gruesome killing, he chuckled while swinging his Kubikuribocho, trying to cleave all of their heads off once again. However, he was stopped this time by Kakashi intercepting the blade before kicking Zabuza away from the group, which was followed by both ninjas trying to overpower each other. Whilst the 2 Jonin-level ninjas were engaging each other, Naruto had to tackle Sasuke to stop him from trying to take his own life with a kunai, due to the level of Ki being thrown about from Kakashi and Zabuza. What the fuck do you think you're doing? Focus! If what you said is true, you should have experienced worse from Itachi, for now we need to protect the bridge builder whilst Kakashi is dealing with. Ah shit, Naruto began before noticing Kakashi being trapped by Zabuza's water prison jutsu, as he got distracted by Naruto reprimanding Sasuke. Run! Take the bridge builder and run! He can't follow you and keep me trapped at the same time. Save yourselves! Kakashi screamed from his water prison. That would be correct, however. It's not, Zabuza said before creating 3 water clones from the pond they were standing in. They might not be full strength or can travel too far, but more than enough for these kids, Zabuza said with an evil grin before the 3 Mizu Bunshins turned their attention towards the Konoha team. This just turned from bad to worse. Listen up, whether you hate my guts or not, we need to work together to survive this. We can't defeat him, we just need to make him remove his arm from the water prison to free Kakashi-sensei. Listen up, here's the plan. Naruto proceeded to whisper the plan to his teammate. A few minutes later, you 2 finally ready? Zabuza said mockingly, whether it was curiosity or arrogance or just plain boredom. Zabuza chose to give the genin time to come up with a plan instead of attacking them straight away. Receiving a grateful nod from Naruto, the 3 Mizubunshin rushed towards the Konoha team. What none of the water clones were expecting though was for Naruto, who chose to release his gravity seals, to suddenly appear in front of the first one, before slapping a custom explosive seal on his chest. What followed was an explosion larger than any of the ninja had seen from any explosive seal. The remaining 2 clones had jumped away and separated in order not to get caught in the explosion. However, the one closest to the Konoha team was met with the combined efforts of Sasuke and Naruto, already forming hand seals. Fire style, fireball jutsu, wind style, great breakthrough. Jumping high into the air to avoid the initial fireball, the clone was not ready for the combination with the wind jutsu, which increased the speed, the size of the fireball and the intensity of the flames, which caused for its right leg to be completely charred by the jutsus and dispel. However, whilst being preoccupied with one clone, the last remaining one had rushed towards the forms of Tazuna and Sakura, who was standing defensively in front of him but visibly shaking. It's over! The clone said with a maniacal grin underneath his bandages before swinging the giant executioner's blade, trying to cleave both in half. However, he was left shocked as the sword simply phased through the 2 humans. A Bunshin? Was the last thing the water clone was able to say as Naruto had appeared underneath the shadow of the blade, which was lodged against the tree, and stabbed his kunai through the lungs of the water clone. The panting form of Naruto was rejoined by Sasuke. Although physically fine, a lot of stress was placed on Naruto's body. He wasn't used to moving and fighting without the seals, so he experienced a lot of whiplash and strain on his joints. Whilst the explosion from the tag had caught his hand a little as well, leaving it a bit singed. The kid is a genius. He not just came up with a quick plan on the spot, he also managed to execute it perfectly. Well, semi-perfectly, based on his current state. But to be able to separate my clones, come up with a combination attack and hide the actual target, very impressive, and that's not including his interesting techniques. Either way, I can't let him stay alive, he's way too dangerous, Zabuza thought before casting a series of one-handed hand signs. Water style. Water bullet jutsu, Zabuza said before firing off multiple fast-paced water bullets from his mouth. Okay Sasuke, you ready? We need to do it now, before he can send more Bunshins at us. We won't be able to surprise him again, Naruto said to Sasuke whilst both were dodging the fast-paced bullets. This continued for several seconds before both genin landed next to each other with Naruto holding the fire sign and casting a medium-sized fireball at Zabuza's legs, forcing him to jump up to avoid it, but still connected to the water prison. Whilst midair, Sasuke launched a giant Fuma shuriken, which Naruto had unsealed, at Zabuza, who displayed impressive flexibility to dodge the giant shuriken. However, from the corner of his eyes he saw a figure rise from the water prison's shadow and was ready to attack it before he felt a kunai stab into the armpit of Zabuza's arm that was holding the water prison. Before he could fully understand what happened, Kakashi pounced on him whilst Naruto retreated with Sasuke. With only one arm actually usable, Kakashi quickly overwhelmed Zabuza and pinned him against the tree using Zabuza's own water technique, but before he was able to finish him off, 3 Saban lodged themselves in Zabuza's neck, making him go limp. "Thank you very much for weakening him. I have been chasing him for days and was waiting for the perfect moment to strike," a voice called out from the trees before the form of a Kiri hunter Nin dropped down and grabbed Zabuza's body. However, before the hunter could leave, Naruto landed next to Kakashi. "Aren't you meant to be disposing of the body right away? You know, to prevent secrets being exposed?" Seeing the form of the hunter Nin tense up, Naruto chose to continue. "But then again, you wouldn't want to kill your master, isn't that right, Haku?" And he was proven right, as without saying a word, Haku quickly disappeared with Zabuza's body. Wanting to pursue but being stopped by a hand on his shoulder from Kakashi, Naruto looked at him, clearly confused. "Let them go. We need to rest as well, plus we have no idea how strong this Haku person is. We just got lucky that the demon brothers knew about him, otherwise we'd have been blindsided," he explained carefully before the two were joined by Sasuke as well as Sakura and Tazuna, who had left their hiding spot behind the bushes. "I just wanted to add, I am extremely proud of you all. Usually the mission comes first, at least that's what you're taught. However, you all demonstrated a lesson even more important today. Those who break the rules are trash, but those who abandon their friends are worse than trash," Kakashi said with a proud-of-eye smile before collapsing from exhaustion. A few hours later, so approximately a week? Sakura asked, clearly worried about the indications. The group had arrived a couple of hours ago, and after meeting the family and letting Kakashi rest for a bit, the Konoha team were currently sat around the dinner table discussing the next steps. "Yeah, roughly, from what I saw, Naruto lodged the kunai pretty deep and might have nicked something too, but either way I'll be back to full strength around that time, so it works out," Kakashi said, before adding, "Everyone get some good rest today. We'll start some training tomorrow," and got up to leave before being joined by Naruto in his room. "Kakashi-sensei, I have a favor to ask. I would like to train separately from the team. I still do not trust Sasuke and I'm worried if we train together again, he will just lose his shit again. Instead I would rather watch the house and family and train in the evenings when you guys are back. Is that okay?" Naruto asked in a serious manner. What you are saying makes sense. I guess it would be fine. What would you want to work on?" Kakashi asked after some thought. "Well, I only have a week so I can't do too much. The main thing would be working on my agility and body conditioning without the resistance seals. I was also wondering if you could teach me that Mizu Bunshin technique if you know it. Right now I only know how to make the regular Bunshins, but with mine and Sasuke's strained relationship, I would prefer having different sort of allies in fights when needed," Naruto explained. How about this? I will teach you it, and if you can master it quick enough, I will teach you one more thing," Kakashi said cryptically with an eye smile. 3 days later, Mizu Bunshin, Naruto called out as a few water clones appeared from the small river in the clearing. Over the last few days Naruto had been working on recreating Zabuza's jutsu, and has finally been able to create the clones almost instantly from the water. He had figured out that the more chakra he pumped into the clones, the closer they were to the original strengths and were able to move further from the water source. "Very impressive, Naruto-kun. Now as for the promise I made. This jutsu is an A-ranked kenjutsu due to the heavy drawbacks that people can experience. It is the Kage Bunshin, and it's the reason why I am able to be with you right now, but also with the others at the house," Kakashi explained and handed Naruto a small scroll with the details. "Speaking of the others, what have you guys been up to?" Naruto asked, only to be polite as he continued reading through the scroll. "Meh, not too much. I've furthered Sakura's process with her earth wall technique since you and Sasuke are the heavy hitters, so she can be more support and protect. Speaking of Sasuke, I also furthered his process with the fireball jutsu and his lightning dispersion technique. For the next few days it will just be a bit more conditioning and preparation," Kakashi explained and pulled out his little orange book as Naruto began working on the technique. A few days later, Naruto had just woken up in the middle of the clearing he usually trained in. Around him a bunch of trees were destroyed, charred and uprooted, as if there was a huge battle going on. "Yuff, my head. Stupid shadow clones, stupid memory retention and stupid spoiled brat," Naruto said as he got up and headed towards the bridge. Usually the Kyuubi would help and heal with the headaches before they could come about, but he must have overdone it last night. Since learning the shadow clone technique, Naruto had been tasked with helping at the bridge every morning when waking up, and in the evening his teammates would train instead. However, last night, Inari, Tazuna's grandchild, had managed to piss Naruto off with his comments about giving up and being useless against the power of Gato. So after telling him off, Naruto went into the woods to go train and release some pent-up tension. Arriving at the bridge, Naruto created a dozen shadow clones before ordering them to help the bridge builders who were already there. This continued for a few hours before a thick mist engulfed the whole bridge and Naruto felt his clones being dispersed one by one, sorting through the memories quickly. All Naruto could see were flashes of the executioner blade and Saban hitting his clones when they would dive in front of the bridge builders. The mist continued to spread until it engulfed Naruto, all the bridge builders having ran past Naruto already. Just you? I was hoping Kakashi would be here at least. This won't be fun. Haki, you take this when the voice of Zabuza rang out from the mist before Naruto suddenly felt two Saban being embedded into his shoulder. He quickly submerged himself into his shadow before reappearing a few meters away from his initial position before calling out, "Wind style, great breakthrough," causing for the mist around the area to be dispersed, revealing the forms of Zabuza and Haku, still dressed in his hunter Nin attire. Not giving them any further time to react, Naruto quickly summoned Amaya and told her to go find Kakashi and quickly, before summoning a few shadow clones and multiple water clones from the sea below the bridge. Sending all of his clones, except for 2, towards Haku, Naruto chose to engage with Zabuza. Although having said Haku could fight Naruto, Naruto chose not to trust the words of a ninja, especially a missing Nin. "Huh, didn't think you were so keen on dying this young. But sure, show me what you got," Zabuza said before he planted his sword and chose to engage Naruto in taijutsu first to test him. The 2 Naruto clones and the original chose to surround Zabuza and engaged him in the Kagejaimen, trying to catch him off guard with the feints. By the end of the taijutsu battle, Naruto had managed to hit Zabuza a total of 3 times, however it had cost him his 2 clones as well as a kick to his jaw which sent him flying away. Haku meanwhile had also managed to dispose of Naruto's clone, but he was worse for wear, his clothes a bit tattered and his mask broken. Not bad at all, Gaki. Could be better but could also be a lot worse. Luckily for you, your entourage has arrived, Zabuza said as he watched Naruto get up and was joined by the forms of Kakashi and Sasuke while Sakura stayed behind with the bridge builders and Tazuna. Sorry we were late. Some of Gato's thugs tried to kidnap Tsunami and Inari, so we had to dispose of them first. We'll take it from here whilst you rest, Kakashi said and ruffled Naruto's hair before him and Sasuke split off to fight Zabuza and Haku, respectively. Whilst the fights were going on, Naruto was regaining his breath and going through the memories of his clones in regards to Haku's abilities and her fighting style. An ice user, really? Sasuke has no chance, Naruto said out loud to himself as he readied himself to rejoin the fight as a massive dome of ice was beginning to form around Sasuke. Inside the ice dome, appearing from Sasuke's shadow, Naruto had a quick look around the dome and noticed it was made up of ice mirrors with a figure speeding in between the mirrors, which he guessed was Haku. However, Sasuke already looked a little worse for wear judging by his panting form and the multiple Sanban impaled in his body. Naruto did notice the extra tomo in each eye. Nice upgrade, Emo. Doesn't look like it's enough to deal with Haku though. We will need to work together again to deal with this, especially whilst he is in those mirrors. This is his domain, and we will only have a chance, Naruto said as he eyed the moving form of Haku, but he was interrupted by a kunai landing at his feet from Sasuke. Listen here, Dobe. You might have had a lucky hunch last time, but this time you will listen to me. Since my eyes evolved, I have been able to keep track of him. If you don't like it, take this kunai and end your miserable existence now, Sasuke said with venom dripping from his lips as he pulled out the Saban from his body before glaring at Naruto dangerously. Fine, whatever. What do you have in mind? Naruto asked cautiously, not wanting to get into it now with an enemy facing them. Use your explosive seals to destroy some of these mirrors. He will expend Churka trying to fix them and then be forced to deal with us face to face without hiding in them, Sasuke said and stood up straight again, with Kakashi Zabuza. Give up. With Naruto joining Sasuke, Haku has no chance against them both. I will either stall you long enough for them two to join us or I will kill you before that can happen. You know I am right, Kakashi said as he blocked one of Zabuza's kicks before quickly dodging as Zabuza swung his sword with one arm, in an impressive display of strength. We'll see about that, copycat. For all you know, your little genin could be turned into pincushions very soon, judging by the screams from the little Uchiha earlier, Zabuza said as he continued to press the attack. However, both had to stop as loud explosions were heard across the whole bridge. Turning their attention to the ice dome, both were shocked at what they were seeing. With Naruto had just finished destroying the third ice mirror. Initially Haku had used his chakra to fix the mirrors instantly, but the more Naruto was destroying them with his explosive tags, the quicker he was running out of chakra. Naruto had to give credit to Sasuke. After obliterating the third mirror, Haku stopped trying to fix the mirror and instead left the mirror dome to attack Naruto directly, figuring he was the bigger threat. What Naruto was not ready for was for Sasuke scream out, as Haku engaged Naruto. Lightning style, lightning dispersion. What followed was lightning being dispersed from Sasuke's body and traveled along the floor and air targeting Haku, but by proximity Naruto too, causing both to be electrocuted. Ag? Sasuke, what the fuck? My body can't move properly, Naruto struggled to say as both him and Haku were covered in lightning chakra. Sorry, Dobe, sacrifices have to be made, Sasuke said with an evil grin as he made a couple more quick hand signs before inhaling deeply and screaming out, fire style, fireball jutsu, as a medium-sized fireball engulfed both Naruto and Haku, which was the scene both Zabuza and Kakashi bore witness to and quickly rushed to the group of genin. They were stopped for a brief moment as a wave of malicious chakra spread across the bridge before a red blur raced out of the smoke from the fireball and grabbed Sasuke by his throat and pinned him down. Are you out of your fucking mind? For attacking another hidden leaf ninja, I charge you with treason and sentence you to death. The demonic voice of Naruto bellowed out as his eyes were blood red with black slits and his whisker marks were thicker and more pronounced. Before he raised his clawed hand ready to rip out Sasuke's throat, however, a hand grabbed onto his wrist and stopped him from doing so. Looking up, he saw Kakashi looking at him with a grave expression on his face. Naruto, please don't do this. Not right now anyways, we are in the middle of a mission and if there are any other unexpected turns, we'll need all hands on deck. I promise we'll sort this when we get back. But for now, please remove the Kyuubi's power and let me deal with this, Kakashi pleaded. Already knowing about the Kyuubi's power from the Hokage, seeing Naruto release a long sigh before cutting off the power, Kakashi let go of Naruto's arm and created a Kage Bunshin to carry the unconscious form of Sasuke back, who had passed out after Naruto directed his killing intent directly at him. Turning towards where he saw Zabuza rushing, he saw Zabuza holding an unconscious, but surprisingly burn-free, Haku in his arms. "Oi Blondie, did you save him?" Zabuza called out to him and softly laid Haku on the floor before approaching the duo in a slow manner to indicate he wasn't trying to fight. "Yeah. I heard his vow to protect you when he was fighting Sasuke. He didn't deserve to die because of some extremist way of thinking, so I figured he deserved another chance, but you are really gonna have to fix how you treat him," Naruto said with a sheepish smile, whilst rubbing the back of his head. "This kid. You know what, he might just be right. Maybe Haku deserves better, and maybe I know exactly how to give him that life," Zabuza thought as he eyed the form of the smiling Naruto. They were all stopped from their musings by the sound of clapping heard from the edge of the bridge. What a cute little ending to this musical. Too bad none of this matters. Kill them all. Anyone who brings me their heads, keeps their bounties as well as earns a promotion. The voice of the tyrant Gato was heard as he sent his small army of thugs at the three remaining standing ninjas. "Copycat, we never got to finish our fight. How about this? Most kills wins and gets bragging rights," Zabuza called out, but before receiving an answer had already rushed towards the army of thugs with his Kubikura Bocho. Kakashi simply shrugged before joining in. A few days later, following the, for a lack of a better word, massacre at the bridge, there were no more unexpected surprises. Turns out Zabuza and Kakashi had been perfectly tied with 49 kills each and Gato would have been the deciding kill, but Naruto ended up claiming that kill himself, when Gato promised his thugs they could ransack the village and do as they pleased to the kids and women. After the death of the tyrant, the village rejoiced and celebrated for a full day and continued to do so when Naruto returned with Haku and Zabuza after having cleared out Gato's compound and given the citizen of Wave all of Gato's wealth and inheritance. In terms of Team 7, it has never been more tense. Kakashi had applied a chakra suppression seal on Sasuke after the incident on the bridge, and kept him away from Naruto where he could. Sakura was her usual self, but even she knew not to approach Sasuke when he was in his current mood, for her own safety. Naruto meanwhile had spent every day relaxing and hanging out with Haku and Zabuza, occasionally sparring but mainly just relaxing and telling each other stories of their respective villages. This continued until today, the day they were leaving. "Man, I can't wait to get back. I miss my bed and I miss my friends," Naruto said as he folded his hands behind his head with the Kiri duo by his side and the remaining Konoha trio ahead of him. "Although, I'm not looking forward to training and dealing with the Uchiha again. I'm really curious to see what Gigi and Kakashi have in mind for his punishment." "You know what, I think you'll be quite surprised with what's awaiting you," Zabuza said with a mischievous glint in his eyes and Haku hiding a small smirk of his own. A few days later, at the Hokage office. "Wait, what?" Naruto exclaimed loudly with his mouth hanging wide open. He was currently in the Hokage office with Kakashi, Zabuza and Haku. The team had just given their mission report before the two remaining genin being dismissed. Sasuke was sentenced to house arrest for now with no training or missions for the next 2 weeks. However, the most shocking news was what the Hokage had just told him. "You've heard me, Naruto-kun. As of right now, you are no longer a member of Team 7, instead you are going to be in a team with Zabuza-san and Haku-kun. Kakashi has been keeping me updated with the growing situation between you and Sasuke. Turns out, after your successful wave mission, Zabuza seemed to be interested in joining the Leaf Village. Something to do with your description of it, and giving Haku a better life," the aged Hokage began as Zabuza huffed and looked away, not willing to show his softer side whilst Haku was wide-eyed staring at his mentor and master figure. "Now of course they will be on probation, so that means mainly D-ranked missions within the village or small non-important C-ranked missions just outside the village. I hope you are okay with everything? I know we kind of sprung these news on you, but it is something we decided after Kakashi's updates, and an agreement reached between the two of them," the Sandame finished off and gauged Naruto's reaction. Naruto meanwhile was stunned. He hadn't expected this at all. He thought he would still be stuck with Sasuke the whole time or end up on his own until a different team needed the extra genin, but this turned out better than he could have hoped. He shocked the 3 other occupants in the room by bowing deeply before simply adding, "Thank you all so much. I really appreciate all of it. Kakashi-sensei, thank you for looking after me and recommending the change. Zabuza-sensei, thank you for accepting me and agreeing to teach me. Haku, Thank you for choosing to be my teammate, and finally GG, thank you for making this all possible. He was forced to stand upright again by a fist bunking him on his head, a fist belonging to Zabuza. Okay, enough of all this emotional crap. You're part of Team Wave now. I wanted Team Zabuza, but Haku suggested this would be more appropriate since that's where we met. Haku gave a small grin towards Naruto at this comment. Anyways, we are meeting tomorrow at 6 a.m. in the Hokage's training grounds since I'm still on probation. He figured it would make more sense for us to maintain a low profile and not attract too much attention to us, and slowly begin to integrate ourselves into the village. Zabuza finished off, and once the Hokage indicated he could leave, the two ex-Kiri shinobi disappeared. Naruto-kun, you're dismissed too. Go rest up, I have a feeling tomorrow will be a tough day for you, the Sandaime said with a small smile. After Naruto left, he turned to Kakashi and added, now as for your remaining genin, what you thinking? What if Minato make Naruto next Hokage Council bashing? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel, and leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down, and thanks for watching the video, and see you guys in the next video.